You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects. That's movies,
TV shows,
video games,
and board games.
I'm your host, Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Antman, and welcome, and we're continuing our episodes of Spooktacular season in October. Last week we did the 70s, this week we're going to do the 80s, and I'm joined around the table by the guys that love to talk about 80s horror movies. Introduce yourselves around the table, please.
Well, you have dragged me up from that wet earth to these leaden skies. It is the one and only Bog Standard Dave.
Follow that, Howard.
Jesus Christ. H, the man with two lists. Standard.
Oh, I'm standard.
Just plain old JK47 tonight.
In the building. Wee, wee, wee.
No priest outfit.
That was the last week. No outfit this week.
He got in too much trouble leaving.
I think I've gone with the outfit this week with my shining cardigan. But hey, 'tis the season, right?
Can't beat that. Love it.
So, first off, welcome back, Dave.
It is so good to be back.
I bet it's good to be back, mate.
It is.
Where you been?
I just said I've been dead.
It's true. It's true. But it's Spooktacular. We had to have you back. You love Spooktacular.
I love Spooktacular.
Exactly. So
I'm
we
coming back
couldn't
for
do it about
Spooktacular.
you. Of course you do. That's the only episodes you're in this season. So.
Spoilers.
But hey, we got, I have to have you back, mate.
I'm here.
Howard,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm very I still can't top that. I mean, that's anything I say now is just mundane and
No one could top that. That's why I love not going after him.
yeah, absolutely.
You should do it last.
No, glad to be back. Following up last week's 70s with the 80s. Two lists this week because the 80s is my decade as well as everybody else around this table. Yeah. Very, very easy to put this together. And I hope you enjoy the picks.
Nice. John, how was the list for you?
The list was fine.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on, yeah.
I liked it.
I'm not 100% happy with it, but it'll do. So.
Yeah,
There's too many films.
The problem is this is the favourite decade for me when it comes to horror films. So it's like, how do I do this? How do I pick the five without clashing? Well, there's no reason I'm gonna clash regardless because I love these classics.
Yeah, I was the same. I'll take one out. I've got to.
My honourable mention list is like way up there.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting. So we'll do like we normally do, a couple of questions and straight into the top fives. Yeah. So first off, with 80s horror movies, they're all coming up to their 40th anniversary this year's. Yeah. Do you think they still hold up today?
God, yeah.
Yeah?
I think they do. Yeah.
Yes. My main list does. My secondary list, not so much. But there's a reason for that, and I'll go into that. I think it's like any decade. You can look at any of these films and go, absolutely stands up to date. Enjoy it as much as I did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Some of them, and it's open to perception, isn't it? If somebody looks at that film, they think that's a load of old shite, or it's the best thing since sliced bread.
The only thing I would say about that is it a case of you're looking at it through nostalgia?
Very possibly.
Because if you showed someone who was 18 or whatever those movies now, would they get the same feeling from it as you? I mean, obviously we all love them, but are we looking
Good point,
through?
actually.
Absolutely. I think you've put you've hammered a nail on the head there. It's I think it is down to what we
grew up with, isn't it?
Yeah, what we perceived as a child is now not necessarily the in thing. So would kids watch it and enjoy it? The whole special effects have got better.
Oh God,
yeah.
But then I've said in the past, I sometimes quite like the nostalgic practical effects rather than full CGI'd gore. I like to see something physical. So then that's just me.
No, I totally agree. I think we said this on the 70s horror as well. There's the CGI has its place. But obviously we didn't have the CGI in our days, so we've kind of got used to not having it. But I still like some of today's films that have got it in it. But you know, my list of favourite films is quite varied. It isn't just only 70s films that are my favourite, or 80s, or anything. There are anything really, as long as the story's good.
But most 80s, because I know you. You're like, I have to be on the 80s episode. So
he's that 80s retro guy.
He is.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Check him out on Instagram.
Yes.
Just a quick question for you.
Oh,
All right. Do you think horror trends have changed since
literally
the
my
80s?
next question. Literally my next question.
Wasn't planned.
But well, yes, absolutely. Since the 80s, I mean, I think the 80s is the one that had the stamp of like, we're going to change it up now and do something different. Sure, it has its moments where it's got the same sort of slashes through the 80s, but there are ones in there that are the different from the rest of the norm. But I was going to compare it to the decades of the 70s. Obviously, we did that before, where it had some kick-ass horror movies that shocked the world. And in the 80s, was there much difference for you guys between the two at all?
I think you're right. And the 70s did set the bar very, very high for what was to come in the 80s. So a lot of films in the 80s that have made my list, I think, are deservedly there. But when you put them into comparison with things like The Exorcist and things that came into the 70s, some pale in comparison. Still enjoyable, but not necessarily as shocking or as horrifying as they were in the 70s, because the further that you go, the more that gets put out there, the ideas get thinned down, and people aren't necessarily as frightened or shocked as they used to.
No. I mean,
I think
I'm
people
finding
are jaded.
They are jaded, yeah.
Jaded.
Yeah.
Desensitised to violence.
I mean, I'm finding lately there's a lot of the directors are going back to 70s and 80s horrors, and they're trying to put their spin on those horror films, but at the same time trying to keep it like film made today, shall we say, and make it look like it was a 70s or an 80s classic. Some of them are doing it quite well. I mean, that latest Exorcist film was actually quite good. There's a few others coming out, and it had that. I mean, when I watched it, I mean, other than some of the acting being a bit poor in it, it did have a very like 70s vibe to it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's quite...
Good thing this is a 70s episode.
Are you referring to the one I mentioned last week for you to watch?
I
watched it.
Ah, good man.
Very, very good.
Ooh. But back to the 80s, John.
Yes.
Yeah. A little bit of mystery.
Back in the room, yeah.
Back in the room. So, I think we can honestly say that the 80s was the year of gore.
Yes.
Do you think you could agree with that one? Because we had a little bit in the 70s, but it's definitely used or utilised in the 80s.
Yeah, and there's a lot of examples out there. Some of them make my list. Very, very bloody gory.
Bloody gory,
John. A few of mine are bloody gory.
Right, I'll press it.
Bloody gory.
Do it for me.
I'm here, I can say it.
Say it then.
They are bloody gory.
Nice. But you agree with that as well? Yeah.
I think maybe it's like the era it was in, and you'd had the sort of seal broken in the 70s, but you could fully go to town on like violence and gore. Yeah, maybe sensibilities are coming a little bit, because it was.
And trends change, things change. People's society changes, and we talked about it on the 70s a little bit, and it goes through peaks and troughs. The 70s was very much about religious, supernatural horror.
Yes.
80s was about the slasher film.
Yeah.
Didn't you have some of the video nasties in the 80s?
There were.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. A lot of band stuff,
Yeah. And obviously that.
Which someone might mention.
I would have thought so.
Right, I'm going to stop with the questions there because we've still got 2 more decades to get through yet. So I don't want to keep repeating myself with the episodes. If anyone else has got anything thrown in, if not, we'll go straight to the top 5s.
Let's go to number 5.
Let's do the top 5s then.
It's time for a top 5.
Okay, so normally, before we do our 5s, we roll the 20 dice with the T-Rex inside it to find out who goes first. So shall I go first?
Go for it.
Let's throw the dice tower, let's find out. So that's a 5? I say it's a 5. So I'm definitely not going first.
Just make this up.
13. Ooh, spectacular.
It's creeping up.
Over to Howard. 14. Wow. Go on, John. You got to beat 14. All right, luck of the Irish now. Here we go. In the tower. It's 1. Definitely not taking you to Vegas. So you suck. Howard's going first.
Oh, for a second week in a row.
Here we go then. So guys, if we don't mention your 80s horror film, comment below, let us know what it is, and either way, if not, get your own podcast. Number 5.
Number 5.
over to Howard. So what are the two lists? Then?
Right. So in time-honoured tradition, two lists. I have my prime list, my A list, which is shock horror.
Ooh,
Okay.
And the B list, the secondary list, is schlock horror.
Of
Schlock horror.
course. Yeah, very
So schlock horror is a list derived from films that I watched at the time, enjoyed, but weren't necessarily the best.
Okay.
So they make the list because they still have a place in my heart.
Yeah, you enjoyed them.
I enjoyed them. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's what schlock horror is, and then we'll move on to shock horror. So
Nice.
for number 5, I've got House 2
For the schlock side.
for the schlock.
Okay.
From 1987.
House 2.
Now I don't know if
remember
anybody is familiar with the House
Yeah.
series of horror films around this table. House was quite an enjoyable romp, shall we say. And then they moved on to House number 2.
There's about 4 of them, isn't there?
Yes, I think there's about 4 films, yeah. Now, I enjoyed House 2 because it was very camp, it was quite humorous, and they were playing it for laughs. Some of the special effects, the visual effects, were good, not so good. The basic premise of House 2 is that a guy has inherited a mansion, this very big house, his family mansion, and he gets to move in. So he brings along his mate, his girlfriend, his mate's girlfriend, and basically discover that his great-great-grandfather was a bit of a prospector in the Old West, and actually discovered a crystal skull. Him and his old...
Dun, 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 dun.
I was going to say,
him and his old prospector pal discovered a crystal skull, which, if you would believe, imbued them with everlasting life. So they decide that they're going to dig up the great-great-grandfather to see if there is everlasting life, find this crystal skull, and make a little bit more cash to boot. They dig up the old Gramps, as he becomes known, and adventures ensue. Basically, they start living a high life. They hold parties. Gramps, this is around about Halloween, obviously. So, Gramps is there in his emaciated state. This is where the humour is derived because Gramps is quite a comical character. Basically, they discover portals into the past because of this crystal skull. They go into the past. They go to the Aztec era. They go into the Old West. I won't spoil it for anybody who does want to watch it. It is an enjoyable film. But it is as cheesy as hell. I loved it. Out of the House series, I think it's probably the one that, if you were to watch any of them, it's the one that it would initiate you into the series of films. But
I always remember the posters, just the fingers and everything on the doorbell.
And I think number 2, I think it's going like that.
Yeah.
It's going like that or something like that. I can't remember. But great films. But this one was the more enjoyable, I think, of the lot.
Is it the worst one of the lot?
Is it the worst? No, probably not. I think I think a 3. I think was to do with it was a serial killer who had been killed via the electric chair. I think that one wasn't great. From memory, that one wasn't the good one. Number 4.
So is there any continuity between the different ones?
No. So no. They are completely unrelated series of films, just labouring under the banner of House. So it's a brand new house every single time, a brand new myth, monster, ghoul, ghost, whatever. I urge you to watch them. They are quite enjoyable.
I've seen the first one. I've never seen the other 2, 3, and 4.
The first one I watched quite young, and I seem to remember some sort of green sort of ghoul character. I can't see this amorphous blob. I can't quite remember. It freaked me the hell out. But number 2, I was getting a little bit older and it was more enjoyable.
Sure.
So for shock horror value, House 2 sits at number 5. On my shock horror list.
So this is your actual pick.
This is the real list. Is 1987's Monster Squad.
Hey, all right. Very close to going in my top 5. Very close.
Yeah, I do love this film, and we have, depending on when this goes out, in comparison to something else we're putting out around about this time, we've talked about this at length.
We did.
We did. It's one of those little nuggets from the 80s that I can just rewatch time and time.
Absolutely.
And time again. It is imbued with the universal horror creatures and monsters that we all love, and I love them. And this is, I think we did talk about the fact that there are some really pure horror elements to this film.
It's such a great blend of both, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's humour, horror, family stuff, relationship stuff, and we talked about the fact that there's this underlying sort of relationship current with one of the main characters' parents.
Yeah,
it didn't have to be there, but it was. But it's there, and there's elements that, again, when you watch it with an adult's eyes, you suddenly realise, I didn't see that before. That gives it a brand new depth. But the effects are brilliant. I think the story's a bit hokey, but it doesn't matter.
No, it's too fun to watch.
Yeah, it's too fun to watch.
It's an 80s horror. You're not coming for story, are you?
No,
most of the time.
And it's kind of like that stadium rock sort of horror, really, because you've got all of the 80s tropes that you come to expect. But Monster Squad. I won't talk too much about it because there may be, just maybe, a commentary corner coming up, guys and girls. So without spoiling too much, Monster Squad is my 1987 number 5 shock horror pick.
Nice, mate. Goonies and Universal Monsters. What a combo!
What a combo!
What a combo!
Yeah.
Nice picks. Over to Mr. JK of your first 80s.
My first 80s. So at number 5 for me is The Fog.
Way!
Hence the t-shirt.
Hence the t-shirt, everyone.
It was just John rubbing his breast.
Any excuse.
Oh, he was hungry. I don't know my conscience.
This guy.
Anyway, John Carpenter film. Co-wrote... what was it? He directed it and he also co-wrote it. And you've got Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Atkins, Janet Leigh, and Hal Holbrook in it. And basically, it's filmed in the spring of 1979 as well. And it's basically about a shipwreck. The film starts basically this guy.
It's a campfire ghost story thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And he's telling these kids a story. He's trying to frighten them. It's late at night, and he goes on about this. The locals in the local town, they wrecked a ship off the coast, and 6 people in the town were basically responsible for wrecking this ship. And he says basically that the ghosts will come back and they will get you and all this, which is exactly what happens. He starts off with just a story to scare the kids, but it's actually what happens. And this mist rolls in, and it basically.
But it's not mist. It's.
Scary monsters. Anyway, no, it's a film that
it's a code 6, John.
Yeah. It was a good film. I mean, I was going to take it off my list, to be honest with you.
I'm very surprised it's on it, considering the amount of 80s films there are. And you picked that.
But I kind of kept coming back to it.
Why?
Okay.
I've seen it.
Why?
Well, because I like it. I mean, I've seen it quite a few times. Plus, it's a John Carpenter film. I like
Is it
John
like the
Carpenter's
seclusion
films.
of the island and like the story behind it?
Yes.
Because this essentially is a ghost story, isn't it? All in all, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when Midnight Mass came out, it reminded me very much of this.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a
except
good film.
except for
Yeah,
without
TV
the obviously without the fog sort of thing. But they were stranded on an island sort of thing. But I kept getting the fog vibes from it. And then when they did that TV series of The Mist, it wasn't as good, but it was supposed to have been based on that story as well. I didn't think it was as good. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't anywhere. It wouldn't be as good as the film.
Sure.
But it's an 80s film that I think kind of like it sort of went under the radar a little bit. I think for a lot of people.
Because a lot of people think it's, because you said it was filmed in 79, a lot of people think it's a 70s film, but it's not. It was on the tip of the cusp of the 80s stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 1980 when it came out. It was filmed, I think it's supposed to have been Christmas 79. And by the time they actually got around to finishing it, it was really early 80. So that's why it's kind of in the 80s list, considered an 80s film. But again, John Carpenter, can't go wrong as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he's made any bad films. I like all of his stuff, really.
The one movie where Jamie Lee Curtis meets a guy and sleeps with him within the first 5 hours. Meeting him.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Don't call her the Scream Queen for nothing, eh?
Yeah, and it is bloody gory.
There were moments where it's not that gory, though. But
No, but it's got its moments. But it's a film I think should be on everybody's
Would you
watch
say it
list.
was more chilling, John?
It was more chilling.
yeah.
Yes. mean, because they start off, like I said, they start off with the story, and he's putting in this, he's sowing this seed of a story of these ghosts coming, and a bit like a boogeyman kind of a thing, really, isn't it? And then when it starts happening, you're like, oh, and bits of the ship that he was on about start turning up on the beach. So now you're starting to think, well, this is kind of like the story that he was talking about, really. Now, and when they start, when the dead sailors, shall we say, I don't want to give too much away, but when they start roaming the streets and stuff, and dragging people off, and they're after the ancestors of the 6 people that wrecked the ship, basically, aren't they? And then at the end, well, watch it and see.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's a good film.
Good pick, mate.
Yeah,
good pick. Nice and different.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to clash with that one.
No, I didn't think so. So,
anything else on that?
No, we'll move on from that one.
All right. So my number 5 is a movie that we spoke about last Spooktacular in the vampire episode, shall we say?
Oh, yes.
And of course, it was my favourite vampire movie of all time, Fright Night. I love Fright Night. I mean, like I said, favourite vampire movie of all time. Reason I like this movie is that it reminds me, if anyone grew up in the 90s, there was this phase of books that came out. You either read Goosebumps or you read Point Horror.
Yeah.
Okay? This movie reminds me very much of Point Horror stories. It's literally about the kid who suspects something is happening next to his house, his next door neighbor, and it is. It's literally no one knows what the movie's about. It's about a vampire that moves next door to a kid called Charlie Brewster. Yeah. He's very much into his horror movies and all that sort of stuff, and watches a TV show called Fright Night. One night he hears a scream of a woman next door, goes to look, and he has his suspicions about the guy that lives there. Obviously, you find out more evidence about him. It turns out it is a vampire that's actually lived next door to him. I won't go too much into it because it's one of those ones you really need to see. I like the idea that it's not so big because it's a movie that literally just takes place between the 2 houses.
I was going to say.
There are a couple of moments where he has to go and try and convince a actor who is a vampire killer in the show, but he's not a real vampire killer. Called Peter Vincent, and try and persuade him to come here.
He thinks he is, doesn't he?
But he thinks he is, though. But again, I won't go too much into it because there's one you need to really watch for yourselves. The remake's not too bad as well. I actually quite like the remake as well. But
it nearly made my list, actually.
Did it really? Nice. Yeah. But I love the design of the vampires in this. I love the story is fantastic. Yeah. It's such a classical. You know, why does no one believe me? A vampire lives next door to me. Why does no one believe me? You know, it's so brilliantly done, and how it's executed in that movie. Its soundtrack is kick-ass as well.
Is it banging?
It's composed is done by Brad Fiddle, who did Terminator soundtrack.
Oh yes, yeah.
And its actual soundtrack, its track soundtrack, is banging. Trust me, mate, you'll love it. I know you definitely will. But yeah, Fright Night, 100%. My pick for number 5 had to be that. But Dave,
good pick.
My number 5. I've also gone for a vampire film.
Nice.
Yes, because I like a good vampire.
Yes,
film.
Exactly, mate.
And I went for The Lost Boys.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yes.
Was in my list, and I took it out, unfortunately.
Really? So, why do I?
You hadn't seen it.
No, but I went away and watched it.
Because I remember that vampire episode, you said you hadn't seen it, so you actually watched it.
Yes.
Nice.
I went out and watched it.
All right.
On recommendations of the M.T.V.B. podcast host over here. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. Yeah. And again, I'm not speaking now from nostalgia, because I watched it this year sometime. So it hasn't got that nostalgia kick for me. But weirdly, when I watched it, I was like, oh, I love this 80s vibe here. Because they're like, it's set in like a sort of Californian state sort of seaside town where you got, and I do really like this. They do a lot of shots of like all the promenade and the pier with all the roller coasters.
It's the vibe of the town, isn't it?
So you've got this vibe. It's like a music venue being played, and it's very beach California with the lights, which you wouldn't maybe associate with horror.
Yeah, it's like the beach end, isn't it? With the carnival and all that sort of stuff,
and you've got all the bright lights, but then at times they've done some really nice shots where like the sun's setting and it's all orange, and you've just got the lights flashing and some music playing over. They do a lot of like old-fashioned 80s helicopter shots as well.
Yes, yeah.
Because a lot of the
Before
time,
drones were a thing.
Yes.
I mean, that film would have been so much easier with bloody drones, wouldn't it?
yeah.
A lot of it, they do like a perspective of the flying vampires about
Yeah.
to eat someone, and
Yeah.
it's someone running, going before they get lifted up into the air or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been easier with drones, because. But anyway, I just like that sort of that vibe. I like that sort of, because what I like about the vampire film isn't necessarily the gore aspect of it, because there's not a lot of like gore in this.
No.
There's
No,
a
there's
few
not.
bits where people get like throat tripped
But
out
it's not
and
needed, is it?
No.
There's a lot that's suggested, isn't it?
But it's that whole threat of vampire. Like you've got the main four guys sort of swanning around, haven't you? In there, pretty 80s gear in it. You know, the whole like bandanas, shirts unbuttoned, like sleeveless jackets, and all that sort of like.
This kind of ties in what I was saying about a stadium rock type of feel.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
80s embodied
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And the Lost Boys.
And I kind of love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
and it
I'm
is,
here for that.
but it makes the film. I think
Yeah.
the look. It's
Most definitely.
yeah, the cinematography of this film, like you said, the shots that they have flying over the top, the setting. I mean, some of the acting isn't great, but overall, I think it's an amazing pick, mate. The only thing that I cannot forget. Or forgive even is the greasy strutting saxophonist.
Yeah,
towards the
that's
beginning.
that is a fucking weird choice, isn't it? He's even got
fit with the film.
And did you know? Hang on.
do it for me.
Do I
it
have
for me,
it?
Ant. Come
Yes,
on,
I
Ant,
do.
it for me.
Did you know that the greasy saxophone guy, I can't remember his name, Tim something it is, did the soundtrack for the recent Axel Foley movie?
Oh no, really?
Oh, wow.
Oh well. Okay.
And that was a good
But,
film.
I mean, in that,
we'll let him off.
he is like a weirdly tanned, muscled guy with a saxophone.
It is
and
so
he's
80s
even
though,
got,
isn't it?
it's so 80s because he's got one of those like random little like
Yeah, a
bands
little tie
tied around his bicep.
Yeah.
That's the thing in
just
the
for
80s,
effect.
apparently. So I love the vibe of it. I love that whole like don't care, you know, we're just living, you know, we're never gonna die kind of. This is our playground kind of feel to it. Because they lure the teenager, don't they? She after Star, the girl. Weird
That's
name.
right, yeah.
She he is entranced by her and gets lured in, drinks the blood. Because they've got that nice little lair, the hotel that's collapsed into a cliff somehow.
That is a very Goonies moment.
Yeah, it
that
is,
is,
but
isn't it? I know Corey Feldman's in it, but that part when they go in and see him sleeping upside down.
Yeah. Well, I was just
Total Goonies, right?
I was just about to go on to that because you've also got this weird vibe through it, which is a bit like this for newer, younger audience. It's like a Stranger Things vibe at times.
Yes.
Because his
Yeah.
younger
Absolutely.
brother, who is like weirdly all right and confident about the thing, that his brother's been turned into a vampire. He rings two random comic book kids, doesn't he, from
That's
a
it.
comic book store who are vampire hunters.
Who else would you call?
They've done a comic to so respect to that for like
Frog Brothers.
so
Frog Brothers, yeah.
and they get full on Rambo'd up, don't they? And then they go off on their little bikes to go and stab some vampires in their lair. And I like that sort of weird.
Good night, bloodsucker.
Yeah. And it's like a fence post. It's not a small stake; it's a fucking
It's-
fence
yeah,
post.
it's
isn't
big
it?
fucking
And
thing,
then just they all die differently, don't they? All, there's
But
some good
I
gore.
love when they actually get into it and
Yeah.
they're like, shit, this is actually
Yeah.
happening. We actually have to kill vampires. And their
shit
reaction
themselves.
is real. Yeah, they actually shit themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good. I love that.
We were talking earlier, and when you said we were talking about it earlier, I was thinking about this because I was thinking practical effects versus CGI effects. And I really like, and we were, and you asked, do you think it holds up? In this film, it's all sort of practical makeup and things like that. If you can picture if you've seen the Lost Boys, you picture them when they go full vampire, and they've got like the cheekbones and the pale skin, and they've got these really good orange contact lenses in, which are creepy as hell. And even when you see their feet upside down, when they're hanging upside down, they're
That's
these
it,
weird
yeah.
like claw things with like two toes, like bat things. And I actually like those effects. I like that. And, one of them gets staked and ends up in a bar full of... he doesn't get staked. He gets pushed
They all
in.
don't die the same way,
They
do
don't
they?
die a different way, but they die horrifically messily.
Yeah.
Which I really like and respect.
Wasn't that one Bill and or Ted?
Yes.
It was.
So he gets pushed in by the dog eventually into a bath of holy water with
And
loads
garlic.
of garlic floating in it, and he just dissolves over probably about 3 minutes. There's a really long couple of shots in there, and he pops out like not once, not twice, but three times. And the last time he's a skeleton. I love it. So this is where I think even now. Like you can watch that now and appreciate it.
Yeah.
There's a practical effect.
I think, like you said, with
there's a visceralness to it.
Yeah, with the Stranger Things vibe to it, fans of that can go in and go, yeah, I can see where this has come from.
And you know, you've got like there's really moments where he gets given the rice from the Chinese takeaway, and then it's a load of maggots. I mean, I just like seeing real stuff, real weird gore stuff. So, but for me, it's not the story isn't massively strong. I mean, but I think it really works and it stands the test of time. I like the vibes. I like the feel of the whole thing. The acting in places is a bit bizarre, but it's the 80s. Hey,
And a kick-ass soundtrack as well.
I was going to say that.
That was what I was going to close out on. You can't have something with all of those elements and not have a kick-ass movie.
We say it a lot, but it has got a kick-ass
little sister.
and it is one of those soundtracks that I don't usually do it. I could sit and listen to the soundtrack on Spotify because it is that good.
But yeah, there's some lovely shots in it. I love the effects. I just love its sort of feeling. And that's me coming to it in 2023 or 2024 whenever I watched it. So it has stood the test of time.
Wow, I'm very surprised in the 5, mate. We made it into list of 5,
I wanted to put a vampire one in.
Nice.
I do like a vampire film.
Right, let's go to number 4s.
Number 4.
Over to Howard for number 4, Schlock.
So for the schlocky horror number 4, I've picked a film from 1989 called Society.
Ooh. Yes! I know this movie very well.
I got to be perfectly honest with you. I watched it when it came out, and
so this was banned for a while, wasn't it?
It was banned in the US for a couple of years.
Right, okay.
It was released in the UK before it was released in the US. There's certain scenes within the film. I think I can understand why. It's not a porno film, folks, but
it does have a kind of an orgy at the end.
There's a bit of an orgy at the end, but it's bloody weird. And if you get off on that, good luck to you.
You need to elaborate now.
This was like the body horror film that David Cronenberg didn't make, right?
So a lot of, without giving too much away, a lot of the schlock horror on this list is about the 80s body horror, and I'm not a big fan. The only reason that some of these are on here is because they were so affecting, and I think, do you know what, I'd watch it again purely because it did its job. And it literally horrified me. Society was one of those ones. So 1989, I would have been 10, and fuck, I shouldn't have watched this film.
So did you watch it when you were 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. My parents are a couple of good eggs, but they didn't really monitor what we were renting out.
Or negligent.
Yeah, or a bit negligent. They weren't monitoring what we were renting out from the fucking video shop. So
neither were the Blockbuster films.
Yeah.
10-year-old, 11-year-old.
This was an independent. They didn't give a shit. Like, yeah, kid, yeah, you just fucking take that film, whatever. Dad, can we watch this film? Yeah, whatever, just take it. Yeah, whatever. So Society. Again, it's California. It's that sort of type of locale in America. A young college student suddenly realizes that his family aren't quite normal. A guy in his class from school basically says that his family were involved in orgy type activity. So he delves into this a little bit more. He discovers that the local society of which his family belong to, because they're quite well off, they indulge in orgy type activities, shall we say. I'm not going to go into too much.
Can I just ask, is this schlocky horror or schlongy horror?
This is well, take your pick, Dave. It's schlocky and schlongy. You don't actually see any major body parts, but it turns out that the society that they speak of, these orgies that take place, none of them are human. They're all of an alien nature, yeah. So there's scenes of
body morphing and whatnot.
Body morphing, yeah. A little bit of the early sort of Cronenberg type stuff where it's a bit unnerving, and especially as a young kid, I'm like, what absolute hell, hell am I watching here?
Yeah, I was going to say what you're watching.
Yeah,
but the thing is that scene is literally shot like the last 10 minutes of the movie, if that, because the rest of it is all just...
Yeah, so it sets the scene, it alludes, and there's a lot of suggestion. I think there's one scene where a girl's head sort of twists round because she's lying on the bed, and the hero of the piece, he suddenly realises that, a lot of them are not normal. So she kind of entices him into her bedroom, and I think there's a scene in the shower as well. Again, twisting, turning heads and limbs that contort. But this final scene where these alien creatures have got together, and there's like the typical high school bully, and he has been presented as like an offering to the society, literally gets torn to pieces. So these aliens, however this concept works, they're sticking their hands inside him, they're sticking their hands up him,
right up through his skull and everything.
It is so weird. And again, it's schlock horror. It affected me because it was good, but some of the effects were a little bit shonky.
There's moments where the effects are really good, but then there's moments when they're really like, "Hi, son, I am a butthead." Yeah, that part is
the one where he's putting the butt to one side and he's staring at,
and his dad's head is literally between his arse.
Anus. It is weird.
You've got to see it to believe it.
See it to believe it, folks.
But you don't see any major body parts.
You don't really see any major body parts. So no, it's not porn, folks.
I mean, this sounds like it's right up Big G's.
It is right up Big G's.
Yeah. I don't know what Big G would think of this, to be honest.
I don't know. I think he'd be shocked. Even by Big G standards, he'd be shocked.
I mean, he'd probably find enjoyment in it, wouldn't
Probably, yeah. Again, on the list, watch it. Go out and see it to believe it.
Are you corrupting the people who haven't seen it?
No.
Are you a provocateur?
He's influencing
all the 10-year-olds out there.
I leave that up
Let
to
your parents.
This guy. It's a see it to believe it type of film.
Definitely.
But definitely belongs in the shock horror category. So with shock horror, my number 4 is A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1985.
Nice. Good pick.
I know that you've already done this as a subject for
season 1. That was the first ever Spooktacular.
And and I think rightfully so. And it's one of those franchises that deserves to be at the top of anybody's list. It's not necessarily one of my favourite franchises, but it definitely deserves to be here because the first time that I saw it, again, I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely insane. So anybody who does not know what A Nightmare on Elm Street is about...
where have you been?
First of all, where the hell have you been?
Yeah.
But secondly, it's about a demonic dream sociopathic serial killer called Freddy Krueger. Who makes his way into the dreams of the children of the parents who ultimately killed him. So he was convicted of child killing and other things.
That's glossed over a bit, isn't it?
That's always glossed over. Yeah, again, another 80s thing that was potentially acceptable at the time. Fuck knows. We live in a different era now. But so he got off on a technicality of these child murders. The parents of the kids that were killed did not accept this. So basically,
they got together, didn't they?
Yeah. So it's the residents of Elm Street who decided that they were going to take matters into their own hands, and they burned this fucker alive.
Lynch mob.
Yeah, they lynched him, they burned him, he died. So as an ultimate revenge, he comes back as the Dream Warrior in order to be able to get into the dreams of the kids that remained, and he said, I'm going to take my revenge. I'm going to get these kids, and that's exactly what he sets out to do. So there was a series of scenes where various children are attacked and murdered in their sleep, sometimes waking murders as well. Nancy is the one girl who says, there's something going on here. I know exactly what's going on, and proceeds to investigate. A very young Johnny Depp meets his demise on a bed. I think it's the scene where
it was his first movie, wasn't it?
It was his first movie. Yeah, I think he gets eviscerated from the inside out.
Well, he has a very cool death scene.
A lot of blood in that one. I think just for its shock value alone, Nightmare on Elm Street set the bar very, very, very high for slasher films. I did enjoy it. It doesn't quite make my number 1. There is someone else who deserves to be there. But
gee, I wonder who that is, folks.
But Freddy Krueger as an enduring horror character, I think you can't get any better than that, really.
Yeah.
Very visual, very iconic. The stories don't always necessarily marry up to our memories. A lot of them are a bit shit, but the original is a very, very good film.
Yeah.
And
Surely
thoroughly
everyone
enjoyed
knows
it.
the poster for that, don't they?
Yes, of course. Again, iconic. And if you can't see it on your screens now, then
Through the magic of YouTube.
magic of YouTube, yeah, on your screens. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, you guys covered this.
Magic of YouTube.
Don't look at me. I read it says at the back here. Put it in.
I'm just giving him the chance to magic Ant into something.
Here, or here.
But yeah,
Editor boy,
you
do things.
you talked about this on a previous season.
We did, yeah.
And
The first ever Spectacular,
you've
mate.
covered it. But
What an episode. It's one of my favourite episodes. that is as well,
everybody
yeah.
knows Nightmare on Elm Street. Everybody knows Freddy Krueger. But yeah, number 4.
Good picks.
Quick question. What do
Go
you
for
think of what do you think of that remake they did?
I haven't seen the remake.
Haven't you?
No. For those that have watched it, please let me know if it's worth watching.
That was good.
Not as good. I mean, I love the actor who took over from Robert Englund. I think he was amazing in Watchmen. As Freddy Krueger, I don't know.
Oh, Jackie O'Hurley, yeah.
Yeah, Jackie
The
O'Hurley.
thing is, I bought the Blu-ray of that, and there's a making of that comes with it, obviously. I think they made 2 different films, and then studio got behind it because there is a lot missing from the final cut. That's in the trailers, that's in the making of, and I do believe that studio heads got behind it and said, no, you need to change it last minute or whatever, and I think that's what tarnished it in a way.
Right.
But we might talk about it later, who knows?
Is that as in the original or the remake?
The remake, sorry, the remake.
remake, yeah.
With Jackie Hurley, yeah. Nice, good pick, sir.
Thank you.
John, over to you, sir, for your number 4.
My number 4 is American Werewolf in London.
Wee! Nice! Wee! There's a werewolf movie in there somewhere.
Oh, yes, definitely. It made my list because I loved the special effects that were done in it.
Rick Baker?
Yeah, again, So basically, the story is these 2 American students decide to go on a backpack holiday in England. They end up across the moors.
And stick to the road.
They stick to the road. Yeah. And they late at night they go into this village and they're in this pub called the Slaughtered Lamb.
Yep.
And they're basically told, that.
Rick Mail's in that pub as well.
Yes.
Is he?
Very early Rick Mail
very
appearance,
early,
yeah.
and
I did not
they're
know
basically told. I think they're given directions to go to this guest house or whatever, but they're told stay on the road, don't go onto the moor, so on. And of course,
Made me miss. I never miss that board.
that was he throwing the darts? Yeah.
Let's see if he throws the last a bit.
And of course, one of them, they go off the road, and this werewolf bites one of them. They get attacked, and he basically becomes this. He's the American
will become
werewolf, and it takes a little while for it to happen. His friend is telling him that there's, I think there's something wrong with you and all that, and he doesn't think that there is, and
Well, he's got to wait till the next full moon, which is in a month, isn't it?
So they go off the rest of their holiday and stuff like that, and he ends up in it. He meets this nurse in this hospital, which is played by Jenny Agutter. That's it. And he just basically he turns into this wolf. He goes on this rampage. There's lots of lots of killings in it. The special effects in it I thought were quite good for a film of its time.
I mean, yeah, Rick Baker got the Academy Award for Best Special Effects on that, and it is very good. But for me, there's another werewolf movie I preferred the transformation scene to that, which we might talk about later on.
We might talk. Funnily enough, I never thought to put it in my list.
Did you?
And I'm kicking myself now because I like.
But American Werewolf in London is the more entertaining one, and there's more well known out of the two, though, isn't it?
But so I mean, that's why I kind of put.
But I like his friend. Davies the Star is now. I can't remember his friend of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but his body rots every time he sees him, doesn't he? He has visions of his dead friend, doesn't he?
Because that's something. Because he has these dreams.
Yeah,
and he's dreaming of attacking people, but he is actually attacking people.
Get the fuck out of here, Jack!
And he thinks it's just a dream.
Yeah,
but I like that element of that film because you don't just get a werewolf; you get also the supernatural element,
the curse of it, isn't it?
Curse of it, yeah. So his friend cannot die essentially, can he? Because he's trapped in. Is it like limbo? Is it?
Yeah,
I mean,
but he realizes that. I mean, he's told
until he kills, isn't it?
And he's told there is a way out.
Yeah,
which he takes in the end. You have to watch it, folks.
Yeah, I mean, this is a typical werewolf that's not the silver bullet werewolf. Like, it'll die naturally like any other animal sort of thing. But yeah.
There's another way.
But yeah, the design's great. There's every time I go to Forbidden Planet, I have to go through Tottenham Court Road train station, and they filmed it there. And there's a scene where, obviously, on the escalator, isn't it? Yeah. It reminds me of two movies. That movie, American Werewolf in London, or Total Recall.
Total Recall. So that's why I put that on my list.
Good pick, mate. Good pick. My turn. Right, my number 4. It's possible clash with this one.
Okay,
here.
It's gonna probably clash.
So my number 4 is Hellraiser.
Which one?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I asked the question about horror changing, I think this personifies a different change of horror, a different type of horror. I know we sort of had a different type of slasher with Freddy Krueger because he kills his victims a different way. But this one is completely different. And, you know, it was so shocking that even Stephen King was like, I've seen the future of horror, and it's Clive Barker. Very S&M, very, very gory type movie.
It's sadomasochistic.
That's the word I'm looking for, the character alone is iconic, even though he's only in it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's not in it that much, is it?
Yeah, it's literally 5 minutes, but how Doug Bradley brings that character and delivers his lines is fantastic. It's a very, how do I say this? Misleading movie, because we think it's about pinheads.
It's not, is it?
And it's not. It's a love story in a way.
Very twisted.
Very
twisted and backwards,
story.
isn't it?
But I won't go into too much if no one's seen it. I'm sure it's on someone else's list. Will go into more detail.
Well, I'm sure we went into
We did Spooktacular last year about it. So go back and listen to that if you want. But it's the way it's shot. It's the way it's. It shows it's not a big budget movie. This essentially was an independent film that was made by some random guy who had a back history of horror plays, theatre plays, and they took a chance with him, and he brought one of his books to life, and it's still an iconic movie to this day. Its poster is iconic as well. The character is iconic. I mean, it had to go on the list regardless, literally for the difference of horror that it is. And we still don't get that type of horror to nowadays until we get a remake or another one. I don't think any other horror movie has tried to do Hellraiser type horror, has it? No. It sort of stayed with it. No one's tried to copy it or anything like that.
No, because I don't think you can. It was all introduced, and it was done to perfection in these films. I must confess, I'm not a big Hellraiser fan.
Get out.
Sorry. When it comes to body horror, it's not quite my thing. And it wasn't the first Hellraiser film; it's the second Hellraiser film that's
a new level of
horror.
Don't talk too much about that.
No, I won't. But I can't watch that film again. But yeah, with the first Hellraiser film, I mean the scenes where Frank, he sort of deconstructs in front of your eyes. And
I was going to say where he reconstructs.
Where you reconstruct.
And again, go back and watch last year's. Listen to last year's.
Spectacular about it.
We talk about that,
it's
and
fantastic,
I spout my love.
Christ, it's one of those scenes.
That is one of my favourite effects of all time, and it's spectacular. Effect.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, I mean, even down to I like the idea of the lament configuration. You know, this portal, this gateway to hell, and all of your desires. I mean, it's like wishing on a monkey paw, isn't it? And right at the end of the film, where you got the mysterious man sitting down and going, he's offering this lament,
and the box get passed to the next person, and the next person. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the first one and the remake. I'm not a big fan of 2, 3, or 4 personally, and I'll explain if someone mentions it. But those stand out to me, like how he shot it. Again, it's very much like Fright Night. It's all just in one building, it's in one house, and how they get to make this big fucking movie in just this one secluded area, fantastic. And I cannot deny how he went through lengths to bring this to the big screen and showed the world what this type of horror is.
How good that bodysuit where he's flayed of skin and it's just muscle.
It's nasty shit, mate.
And he's a nasty character.
He is. Yeah, he gets what he deserves.
And he's the more villain than the Pinhead character or the other Cenobites or whatnot.
But a lot of these horror stories, and again, we talked about it last week in the 70s one, it's often the fact that the human element is the bigger monster, it's the bigger creature, the actual thing that you think you're meant to feel.
Yeah.
So Pinhead as a character and the hell scape, the hell realm, whatever it is, that's just the vehicle. But it's the interplay between a lot of the characters. That's
I still wouldn't want to end up as just a face talking on one of them spiked pillars.
Oh, mate. Get
That would work with your face.
You heard it here first, folks.
Zing. There is a cock on there, and that would be you.
Yay! Guilty as charged. I'll take it.
But it's like the old saying, that the things you do for love, and what the things that Julia does is.
Oh yeah,
Bloody hell.
the length she goes just to be back with Frank is unreal.
And you think, what would possess you to do that?
This is it.
Was that in the 80s as well?
It is.
Yeah.
87 that came out. Yeah, 1987. And I believe the second one was 88. But yeah, I won't talk about it too much because it's a waste of good suffering. So
I like that.
So we'll pass it over to you. But yes, if you want to hear more about it, go back and listen to last year's Spooktacular. It's on YouTube now. Yeah. It's on Spotify.
Yes.
We're everywhere now. So go back and listen to it if you're interested.
And we talk about it a lot.
Yeah, indeed.
A lot. Yes.
So over to you, sir, for your number 4. Number 4.
My number 4.
We only ever do that when you're on the show.
Thanks, guys. My number 4 is Evil Dead 2.
Oh, nice.
Come on.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I'm not a massive fan of the first Evil Dead film.
Okay.
I much prefer the second one.
Me too.
Because this is where it goes full mad.
Yeah.
Full chainsaw hand.
Full Ash, yeah.
Full Ash. And I feel as a character, he's quite bland in the first one.
He is.
Yeah,
It's like they've introducing the characters.
Yeah, but
in the first.
But they're testing the waters with him, isn't
it's
it?
a generic, he's a generic, horror protagonist in that one.
Yeah.
Generic guy college guy. Not college, but, that sort of age. Whereas in this one, I feel he becomes Ash.
He's found his feet.
Well, Sam Raimi allowed Bruce Campbell to kind of bring out the character, didn't he? Because in the first one, I don't think it was necessarily the fact that Ash was the hero.
No, he was
just the survivor. So
Yeah.
he was bland. But when you watch the first one, you suddenly realise Bruce Campbell is just the actor.
Yeah.
I think we all love him around this table. Again, I talk about vehicles for things. So the Evil Dead 2 was a vehicle for Bruce Campbell to be Ash Williams, to bring that out and push that story forward.
And that is why I love that film.
And it's a retelling of the first one.
It is a retelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He goes with his girlfriend to a romantic, heavily air quoted romantic cabin in the woods.
Some shithole in the woods.
And it turns out there's and
it sounds so typical when we say cabin in the woods thing, but back then it was a thing, wasn't it? It was
that was the first. It was the first
absolutely.
that really gave us that cabin in the woods idea.
And then they find there's that the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
The Book of the Dead.
Book of the Dead.
In the basement.
Kanda, Estrada, Demon.
So basically, he unleashes the Deadites effectively.
Yep.
Are they Sumerian demons? Are they Sumerian?
I think they're Kandarian.
Yeah,
Kandarian.
Kandarian demon. Otherwise, since they're known as Deadites, easy for easy. His girlfriend gets possessed at one point, and she has a head.
So does he.
He does, but that's a bit later.
Yeah.
She ends up getting her head chopped off with a shovel, I believe.
It is, yeah.
With a shovel. And there's a really good scene where her head is in a vice.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's still having a go at him. Still taunting him as a head.
And the Freddy Krueger gloves in the background of that shit.
It
You know that?
is indeed, yeah.
Oh, yeah, in the little shed.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
In the tool shed.
Please, Ash. Please.
As a head chopped off in a vice. And then the headless body attacks him with a chainsaw at one point, and he gets possessed. Yeah. Doesn't he? That's why he chops his own hand off.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
And evil got into
Who's laughing now?
Evil got into my hand and it went bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's gory. It's got all the classic horror elements that you need.
It's got humour. It's got everything in it.
It is, yeah.
It's an absolute classic.
But you're right. It's mad to the nth degree, and I love Sam Raimi for it because he tested the water with the first one. This was just him going full pelt, full steam ahead.
Yeah. I like this one, like I said, because I feel like this is where like you said, actually, it's where he becomes Ash.
Yeah, it's where he's born. I think.
Yeah. It's where he was definitively, that character was born was 2. People say 1, but I think he was strikes out on 2 more.
Yeah. And I just love that film.
Yeah.
I could watch that film again and again.
I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
and I love,
swallow this.
love the sort of the deadites in that.
I love is it Helga?
Yeah.
In the fruit cellar? Someone's in my fruit cellar.
What happened with Bertha? Was it Bertha?
Someone with a pesto.
I mean,
quickly set me free. You can tell I love this movie.
Yeah. Is it on your list?
It is.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, I will tactically leave it there then. And somebody else can
Is it? It's on your list.
It's on the list.
It's on my list.
Nice.
Is it?
Yeah. Should we just tackle it now? It is my number 2. So The Evil Dead all day long. I think it was only really topped by Army of Darkness for me. Army of Darkness pushed it just that little bit further, but
can't stand Army of Darkness.
You can't stand it.
No.
Oh no, why?
Because it's very much it goes from what 2 was to slapstick comedy. It proves that Sam Raimi is a massive fan of the Three Stooges, and you can tell with the whole little good choo-choo, little good choo, and then the whole.
I get what you mean.
And then like Ash is a bit of a prick in 3. Like he's so above himself that he wasn't like that in 2 as well.
No, he wasn't. But then they pushed that character forward again in the TV series, where he is a massive douchebag.
They pushed it forward, but still, it just didn't feel right. It just felt like too comedy for me. Then I know there was comedy in 2, but it was delivered with the horror and that it was. But 3 was just that's a comedy. It's not. It's not Evil Dead anymore to me anyway. But
H disagrees.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
That's fine. I mean, is 3 better for you than 2?
No, I think they sit alongside each other, really. God.
Fans, put it in the comments. Which one's better, Army of Darkness or 2?
Divisive. No, I'll stop talking about it. But yeah, I agree with you. Evil Dead 2, I think, better than number 1.
Gotcha.
A lot of the effects in number 1 were quite revolutionary at the time. I mean, the scene where the tree comes to life and has his wicked way.
It's got a band, wasn't it? Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So
Random tree rape, ladies and gentlemen.
So we talk about the video nasties. Evil Dead was pretty much at the top of the evil nasty list back in the 80s, along with several others. Cannibal
Holocaust,
yes. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and several others. But it garnered a type of following. People had to see this film. So how'd you follow it up? Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
So, good pick.
Yeah, it's good. It's my number 3. So
I had to put it in.
Yeah, I had to go in.
Did you like the TV series they did as well?
I did like the TV series. I've still yet to watch the final season.
Oh, so they cancelled it though, didn't they?
Well, apparently it's coming back for a cartoon series.
Oh, but is it going to have Bruce Campbell in it?
Bruce Campbell will
has
be
to
Ash.
be. Yeah, he has to voice it, doesn't he?
He said he was done, didn't he?
No, he's coming back for
Is
it.
he coming back?
Well, if it's just his voice, he's not going to be doing an awful lot, is he? So
No,
nice paycheck for
easy
him, I
money.
suppose.
Yeah.
Torture, easy money, yeah.
no,
I love it.
Cannot
beat it.
Like I said, it's my number 3. So it pretty much mimicking what you were saying. I love how it's essentially the first one were remade, slightly bigger budget, but it's still independent filmmaking. Yeah. The lengths they went to with the costumes and the memorable quotes, like I just did with you earlier on and whatnot. It's fantastic. There's so much of that movie I love. The elements to it, how he never changed his tone with the first one. Obviously, the first one was slightly grittier, but the effects were better with this one. And it just had to go on there. It's one of my favourite sequels ever. So
gotta love the old camera shot where it's like,
it's the little wind jokes, even with the hands,
the
like when he cuts his hand off and he puts the book on top to hold it in, and it says "Farewell to Arms," all that sort of stuff. It's brilliant. Some of the things they did with the mirror effect. And that is really good. Yeah. There's signs of it where he's like the furniture starts laughing and talking to him, and it's a sign of him going mad. And there's other characters.
I like the stag's head.
Stag's head is fantastic.
It starts going mental.
Bobby Joe's character, and who's the other guy who's in it? Not Bobby Joe. Bobby Joe's boyfriend in that. What's he called?
I can't remember his name.
But yeah, he's pretty much like a hillbilly who's like, he gets stabbed, he gets his neck broken, he gets his head rammed into a tree.
He keeps going.
And keeps going, man. Like, kudos to whatever they feed hillbillies back then and whatnot. But
That's
just,
some good moonshine.
innit? But yeah, fantastic movie. So we'll go, even though that was my number 3, we'll go to the number 3s.
Yes.
Number 3.
Back to Howard for number 3, Schlock Horror.
Schlock Horror is 1983's Sleepaway Camp.
What?
Ringing any bells?
I think I do know this.
It has been touted as a little bit of a rip-off of a film that came several years earlier. It centres on the character of Angela. Now, Angela has gone to the sleepaway camp. Go on.
Is this with the famous...
Very possibly.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, okay.
The premise is basically that she's there with her friend. She gets bullied relentlessly the whole time that she is there. The setup is pretty similar to everything we know about camp stay away type of films. And lo and behold, people start dying. They start dropping like flies. But it's very, very odd because every time Angela is bullied, one of these people drops. So there's a little bit of a theme going on here. Some people start getting suspicious. Oh, there's a serial killer at loose in Sleepaway Camp. It's one of those films. I saw it. I saw it in later years, and I thought, okay, it's got a little bit of 80s charm about it. It does mimic something else that may or may not appear on my list. Ooh. It's very, very famous because, as Ant alluded, at the very end of the film, there's a little bit of a twist that you was not expecting. And the final scene, I think a lot of people who are familiar with horror films of that trope will know this if not this snapshot of the final scene. It's where we discover that Angela is not, in fact, female. She is, in fact, male. Ooh. Angela is the serial killer. She has been dispatching her tormentors one by one, and in pretty gruesome, horrific detail, actually. And for some of the practical effects, I think it stands up to the test. This final scene where Angela is holding, I think it's a knife. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. But the look on this young now male man's face. It's pretty ghostly. If you want a pretty freaky, twisty ending to something that you thought that you were familiar with, this particular type of horror film, go and watch Sleepaway Camp.
I think it's like a meme now, that shot, isn't it? Or a GIF or where it is now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's quite famous now. If you look it up, you'll be
but the movie's not, just that bit is.
Oh, the movie in essence is shit. But
it's schlock. It's not shit.
It's schlock. Yeah, exactly. Which is why it's number 3 on my list. So moving on from Sleepaway Camp, number 3 on my shock horror list is 1985's Day of the Dead.
Hey, all right.
Oh yeah.
We talked in the 70s about the fact that I loved Dawn of the Dead. If we had a 60s list, it would have had Night of the Living Dead. Yes. We've moved on, Day of the Dead. So the dead have walked the earth for several years now. There are encampments of military and scientists who are in underground bunkers. They're trying to find the cure for whatever this thing is. The dead have overrun the earth, and they're now individually trying to find out exactly what has been happening all these years. They're going to try and find a cure, an ongoing cure for this virus. We mentioned with Dawn of the Dead the fact that it becomes very claustrophobic with this particular episode, and there's occasions where they get out, they try to discover whether or not it's kind of like a military installation, whether or not anybody survived. They get out there and find it again. It's all overrun by zombies, so they retreat back to this bunker. It's the characters, I think, that again make it, and one of your favourite antagonists of all time,
Captain Rhodes.
I mean, essentially, he's not a villain.
I asked you to get back in your chair. You didn't get back in your chair.
I thought you were going to go with,
I'm your fucking choke on it. I'm running this show, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my time.
Yeah, the character of Frankenstein, which is Dr. Logan.
Yes,
Dr. Logan. It's been a while. So yeah, Rhodes, he's not essentially a villain. He's doing what he thinks is right, and he knows that there's something up with these bloody scientists. What are they doing with all of these recently dead soldiers and the recent dead scientists and things like that? So, yeah, we discover that this character of Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein, is trying to test on zombies. He's trying to test on the recently deceased. To discover exactly how this thing works. He's lobotomizing people. He's really going out there in order to
He's trying to figure it out,
He's trying to figure it out. He thinks he's doing right. The military think they're doing right. The other characters that are involved I think that they're doing right. So essentially, again, it's about the human interaction. It's not about the zombies at all. What I love about this film, it's the fact that we find this one character, this one creature of Bob, who something's going on inside. There's some humanity in there, and it's quite without saying that it's quite endearing.
Go on, Bob.
I mean, I just love it. It's quite endearing, and when we find out that Dr. Logan has been killed towards the very end, yeah. Well, Bob,
he goes out for revenge on him.
Love this
I love
guy
it when he tries to shoot him.
I know, it's brilliant. So he picks up this revolver and off he goes. He's going to dispatch the erstwhile killer of his beloved father figure, which he does.
The only film where you actually feel sorry for a zombie.
Yeah, you do.
Connect with the zombie,
You do. And he finds Rhodes and he shoots that fucker in the stomach, doesn't he? Yeah.
And then he falls back into all
Then he gets. This is the best death in any zombie
it
movie.
is.
Come on.
Oh, 100%.
Whenever you've got like loads of hands just reaching into a gut and pulling them apart, I was like,
brilliant.
Cool.
So I mean,
that is zombie classic.
I talked about the elevator scene in Dawn of the Dead, but I think that one is on par with it as well.
What this doesn't have,
go on,
that Dawn of the Dead does have, is some random motorcycle guy with a big foam hammer.
Oh, I know. Couldn't quite shoehorn that into the storyline. I mean, there's no time, so I can't talk at length about this one. But Dawn of the Dead, I think we mentioned in the 70s.
We did, yeah.
It
was my favourite for a while.
It tips the trilogy, doesn't it? Day of the Dead is a favourite, and it was a favourite of mine for a very long time. But Dawn just tops that. But yeah, another ending that doesn't necessarily leave it open to the imagination. We see them fly off in that helicopter. We see them sunning themselves on some deserted island somewhere.
Right, yes, we do.
Yeah, but again, it's still... Are they safe?
Are they, yeah.
Have they quite made it? We're not sure.
So do you remember that there's two characters in the movie? There's a Jamaican and there's an Irish guy.
There is.
Who always says every line, oh, Jesus, Mary, Joseph. If they've ever remade it, John needs to be that Irish guy.
Yes, he does.
And just do that line every time. Jesus, Mary, Joseph.
I think you could pull it off.
Right.
Or maybe
Enough
not.
said on that one.
Or maybe not.
With my priest's outfit on.
Well, I don't know about that. But
Jesus Christ, no, that's another film completely.
Is it on your list?
no, it was very nearly on the list.
It's on my list.
It is.
Is it?
Oh, it is.
It had to
I'm
be on
sorry.
my list.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I'll talk about it in a second.
But I think to top off a trilogy.
Trilogy. That's something different, yeah.
To top off a trilogy, it's perfect. I think.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, in into the 2000s, we go into more of Romero's world.
Did you like Land of the Dead? I quite like it.
Yeah, I did like it.
good
I
film.
liked it. But yeah, I think if you stopped with Day, that would be perfect.
Oh, yeah, totally, yeah.
It would be absolutely perfect. So number 3, Day of the Dead.
Nice. And we did a Spooktacular on that, guys. If you want to hear more about it, go back and listen to that episode.
Definitely.
John, number 3.
My number 3 is a clash with your Hellraiser.
Is it really? Yeah. Nice. So why is yours number 3 then?
I liked the story of it. I liked all the Hellraisers.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Even
the
like
first and the second one, I think.
Hellraiser 6 and...
Like I say, the
within
story,
the mainstream
story,
of them.
Yeah, the story gets weaker as it goes along. Obviously, like a lot of films, but Doug Bradley's character is amazing in it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he always said that he saw it as like a prison, and you know, and you had the wardens and the prisoners and all this sort of thing. So,
because they essentially bring them back, don't they? Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And, that's how he always tried to get people to look at it. You know, certain people were the inmates, and certain people were the guards, and some people were the wardens.
And he's trying to bring Frank back to prison.
And you've also got even the visual bars, haven't you? Whenever that sort of realm collides,
with the lighting,
the blue lights come up in bars, don't they?
And I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, like you said, we've done the podcast on it earlier, so
I know every time I John come over and watch it, you come back and straight over and watch them. Yeah. We did it for. Well, I think we showed it to Gal, didn't we?
Oh yeah, he hadn't seen it before, had he?
No, that's right. Yeah, I don't think he knew what to make of that, especially with the penis monster in that as well. So, sorry, the engineer. Should I say?
The engineer. Yeah, and you can see the wheels.
That's a
when
bad
he moves
special
down the
effect,
corridor.
Yeah,
there's lots of
for its time, it was cool.
Yeah, there's lots of silly little things. Like I said, like not the engineer. Was it the engineer?
He's an engineer.
Coming down the
That's what he's known as in the.
Yeah, you can see the trolley in the wheels.
That's right. Yeah,
there's little things like that.
That's what happens when you get these 4K restorations. You can see it all clearer now.
Suddenly you can see stuff. But
it's just part of his shtick.
Yeah.
He didn't have like
shtick on his dick.
But he had wheels. Just
the effects on it. The effects on it were very, very good. And considering, like you said, it was all based in one place. You know,
even like the chains are quite chilling. And, you know, rip them.
It does
Jesus,
where? It does make you think when they first happen. You're like, oh, fucking hell, you know. But you don't like needles, so.
There's the really good shot with all the.
There's a lot of things I don't like. I still watch him.
And it's a good film.
Nice one. Good picks.
Damn, man.
So my number 3 was obviously Evil Dead 2. Again, there's a Spooktacular episode on that. Go back and listen to that if you want to hear more. Over to you, sir.
Clash, Day of the Dead.
Hey.
Nice.
Oh. I mean, I'm Howard's already started me off. I went through a phase where as a young teenager of watching a lot of zombie movies. And the good thing is that they were all there ready to watch for me. Yeah. So I went through, and the pinnacle of the zombie movie at that time was the Of the Dead sort of series.
Night, Dawn and Day,
yeah. And even later Land, because I do like Land of the Dead. But this one, and I'm going to sort of slightly say a little bit of a different feel on the human aspect from what you said, H. Purely because I like it because it feels like it's like everything's falling apart. Like,
it's apocalyptic,
But it's more like they're on this mission, but no one's really got their heart in it apart from maybe Dr. Frankenstein. You know, the pilots are just getting drunk in their little like Hawaiian cabin in the cave somewhere. You know, the soldiers are literally like, we're here protecting you. We are on the verge of fucking.
I think they all know that shit is fucked.
Yeah,
they do know that, but that little piece of them just still they still believe, they still think potentially something could happen.
Yeah, maybe, but it's very tenuous, isn't it? And I love that it opens and you've got that. They fly out, don't they, to like a random city to just try and see if
Hello!
they can. Hello! Yeah. See if they
He says it like that.
Hello! What I just love is there's a random zombie sitting there with tarantulas on him.
Oh yeah,
you remember that?
It's the zombie crocodile as well. You get to see as well.
But there's just a guy sitting there with like on some steps, and some prop animal handler guy has literally just gone. Right, get ready for the shot. Put the tarantulas on him.
quickly before they move off.
Before they move off. It's just bizarre. Why would there be tarantulas?
I mean, it doesn't need to be there, but it is.
But, and yeah, it's very claustrophobic, and I like that sort of that it is in a military facility. So you've got that weird like this saving the save flying off on the helicopter, which is the end. They're sort of trapped in there, and there's always every time they go above ground to do anything. There's a lot of zombies.
There's a hell of a lot,
on like one chain link fence.
Come on, Putsface!
And you didn't also mention another one of my favourite lines from that. Biggest piece of meat in the
I'm about to say, freaking A, man. Biggest piece of meat in the joint.
They're talking about his penis.
Not mine, the characters.
But yeah, I mean, you've already said a lot about it, but it's great. I love that you've got Bub. And that sort of theme works so well that they continue it a little bit in Land of the Dead, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Because you've got the gas station zombie guy, haven't you?
Yeah.
He's almost like remembering.
That's right, yes, who leads them all and stuff.
He leads them, and it's like, and then you've got
when he learns,
and he learns he can shoot a gun.
He used to do that.
But I also like with to talk about Bub a bit more. So the character of Logan, he's called Dr. Frankenstein. They call him Dr. Frankenstein. So Bub is his Frankenstein's monster.
Totally.
So it's there's a little bit of a subplot there. So that they're kind of reimagining that for the modern age. It's also that narrative there as well.
And it's a classic. It's one of the all-time great zombie movies. And also, anyone who's watched this film is going to know what I'm talking about, but it's got that specific of the Dead soundtrack, hasn't it?
Yes.
I can't really describe it, but it's like you get like the drums, like, and then you get like
Well, we mentioned this with Dawn of the Dead. Again, it doesn't sit happily with the rest of the film, but it totally works and makes it.
But it is. You could play that music, and if you've seen it and you like it,
You know it.
You know it.
Yeah.
And it sort of. I see what you're coming. It's not like your traditional horror music.
Yeah.
But it works somehow, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And it's now synonymous with it.
Yeah. And like I say, Captain Rhodes' death is one of the best.
So
You
good.
get shot and then he falls back into a wall of hands. There's also that really weird shot where she is looking at the calendar of the old.
That's the opener. I was about to say that.
Of the old pumpkin patch, and then you're like, that looks like. Why are they looking?
But the music's so calm
and then suddenly like all these just hands come smashing through, grasping, and she's dreaming. But I was like,
that's such a cool shot.
That's a cool little shot,
yeah.
and a practical shot again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you jump because you're not expecting it.
Not at all.
But him again falling back into all the hands, all the zombies coming at him. They're literally like sticking their hands into his
Tearing
weird,
him apart, yeah.
like CG, not CG, but practical fake stomach
Yeah.
and pulling hunks out of what looks like real stuff, and the extra zombies are like chewing them and sucking the intestines and stuff, and he's like, "You're Joker." It's one of the best deaths in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's top horror death.
Nice.
So Day of the Dead. Can't add any more. Go watch it if you haven't. If you haven't watched it, where have you been?
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
Zombie films, man.
Get out from under that rock.
All right, then. Anything else on that?
I don't think there's anything more to say.
Then let's go to number 2s.
Number 2.
Over to Howard for number 2, Schlock Horror.
It is 1983's Videodrome.
Ooh, body horror again?
Body horror,
My
yeah.
goodness, for someone who said he doesn't like body horror,
No,
there's-
I don't like it. And
but it's in there. Why?
but it's on here because it was so affecting at the time that I saw it.
Right. This is when he shoved the tapes in his stomach, right?
Yeah, all right. So I'll talk a little bit about it, but that scene where he starts shoving things in his stomach. So he puts a revolver inside it, a slit in his stomach, and later on there's a cassette that's inserted in there as well. When I first saw this was my kind of first foray into body horror, and who does it better than David Cronenberg?
David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I think he's the granddaddy of the whole genre. Have you all seen Videodrome?
I've seen it once.
I probably saw it.
So this is with James Woods, right?
This is the James Woods film. Yeah. So James Woods discovers within his industries, he works within the television industry. He's looking for that next big thing. He wants to be able to exploit something. He stumbles on something that he was told about snuff horror films. So there's this kind of this subterranean culture of snuff horror out there, and this exists in a world where I think morals are slipping slightly, and radio and television stations are looking for something that's going to get the ratings going. So yeah, he delves a little bit deeper into this. I was drawn to this film because I at the time was in love with Debbie Harry. I love Blondie.
Okay, yeah.
I love
Blondie,
Blondie as a band. They're one of my most favourite bands of all time. And Debbie Harry, absolutely gorgeous. So that's what drew me in. Well, I mean, I didn't really know what type of film this was. I watched it, and then you suddenly discover that Debbie Harry's character that she plays within the film, she falls foul. She goes investigating herself. She goes to find out exactly what it's all about. And a tape surfaces with Debbie Harry's character seemingly being snuffed out on camera. Yeah. James Woods, he wants to investigate, so he finds out if she's dead or alive. This basically takes him into this really nasty world of snuff movies. It goes one step further. So it's not just about snuff horror. He suddenly realizes that there's this kind of algorithm. There's this thing within what is being filmed that is. It's reaching out to the people who watch it, and it's altering people's brain waves. It's making them think in a slightly different way. Basically, by the end of it, James Woods is he hallucinating? He's seeing all of these really fantastical things. So the message within these tapes, within these broadcasts, is telling him that he now needs to go and kill. He needs to go and sort things out. He gets a revolver. He sticks it inside a slit in his stomach. I mean, is it really there? I don't know. Another character places this video cassette inside his stomach in order to reprogram his brain. It's quite dark, and the body horror it doesn't really it doesn't go all out, but there's a little bit of a suggestion there. And at the time I watched it, it really freaked me the hell out. Yeah, it's on my list because I suddenly realised that there was a different type of horror to what I was used to. We talk about the religious, supernatural. We talk about the slasher, and then there was body horror. Yeah. And this is why it sits on this list, because at the time I thought, yeah, I've seen it and I don't really like it. Yeah. But it sticks in the memory. It sticks in your brain, and it's something that is endured all this time. And I've gone back and watched it several times just to. It sounds a bit Hellraiser. It sounds a bit sadomasochistic, but I've gone back and rewatched it just to
try and work it out.
Try and work it out. It's a bit of an odd storyline, especially the way that it ends, because you don't know. You leave it open to interpretation as to how it ends. But did I really see what I watched? And it's just to remind myself why I'm probably never going to watch this bloody film ever again. So Videodrome was at number 2.
Okay, so that was the schlock. So what's the shock?
The shock is Evil Dead 2. So that's, as I mentioned earlier, that is my
number 2. You did say
that. Yeah, and I won't add anything else to it because we've all talked about it, and it's such an iconic film. And Ash Williams is one of those horror gods as a character. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about the fact that there's a Freddy Krueger glove sitting in the tool shed in the background. Yep. What I love the most is that this, along with Nightmare on Elm Street and one other franchise, are internally sort of bonded together now, even so that it went into a comic book series where these 3 characters appeared in this comic book series. I mean, I love The Evil Dead. I do like Nightmare on Elm Street, and I love another particular type of franchise as well. Don't know what that could be.
Guess what that is.
But
on audio, mate, they can't guess it, so you're good. You're good.
Oh, yeah. Why are you listening on audio? Why are you not watching the YouTube
Why are you not watching the video?
Absolutely. So, we'll cut that one there. That's my number 2.
Good pick, sir. Good pick. John, no pressure. What's number 2?
My number 2. The tagline is, this time there's more.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course.
There's what?
We've not long done this. We did this for Spooktacular, didn't we?
And you should know this.
I didn't hear what he said.
This time there's more. That's the tagline.
I don't remember now.
John, put him out of his misery.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Come on. This time it's war.
No.
Yes, that's what it is. This time it's war.
No.
Yes.
But don't make him check the notes. He's got notes.
In the notes.
I'm sure, it's this time there's more.
This time there's more.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the old guard with the paper versus the new guard with
more aliens.
Yeah. That's what it says it there.
It's not. It's this time it's war.
It says here,
Prove it.
This time there's more.
Fight.
I need to find it now because I always think this time it's war. Carry on.
If you've seen the first film, the second film is set 57 years later. She's been
yeah, there we go.
You got it.
Yeah, this time it's war.
There's more. Trust
me. Right.
Yeah.
Official 20th Century Fox Aliens It's War trailer. Just telling you.
Right.
It's there, folks.
I've got it printed from Google.
Right, anyway,
Google
carry on.
It must be true.
Anyway,
and I agreed with it.
Anyway, we've done the Spooktacular on it. I like it because there's more in it.
Thanks, John.
I found the second, a bit like what you were saying earlier about Evil Dead. I found the second one, it edges the first one.
Yeah.
But more because of, I think, like you said, they set everything up with the first one. The second one, they really go to town on it. There's you got the violence, you got the humor, you got the horror aspect, you got the
characters you give a shit about as well.
Yes, Ripley, obviously because with it being set so far, she'd been asleep for 57 years. She takes the little girl on as she sees her as a new daughter, shall we say. So you have that aspect there. She's trying to protect her.
They mostly come at night.
Yeah, mostly. But yeah, it's an iconic film for me. It's a film I can never get tired of watching.
Same.
I could watch it 10 times a year.
Quote that son of a bitch forever.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But still has the suspense at moments as
At
well,
moments,
doesn't it?
and you know the meter that's reading they're coming.
The tracker, yeah.
When that thing's beeping, I mean, you know, your heart starts going.
Yeah, too
because,
right.
Especially if you hadn't seen it before and it's for the first time, it's going to get you going anyway. But then you get the shock when they appear. But every other time you watch it from there on, it's affecting you because you're thinking, you know what's coming now, you know. And it's
5 meters, man. 4.
Oh no! What the hell?
Can't be. That's inside the room.
And it's just one of those films that it sticks. Like you say, you could quote it all night long. It had to be on my list.
Yeah. If you want more details on that, listen to the commentary corner.
Yes,
it's pretty good, and there's a few facts in there I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
But this time, it's war.
Well, you say that, but were they printed off of Google?
Well, I've never heard it say this time it's more. That's a new thing to me.
These new facts that you know, are they printed off of Google?
No. So there was one particular.
There must be multiple.
This is one particular that Heisenberg told me about, which I never knew about. So we
Yes,
actually
I
stayed
know.
to the end to find out if it was true or not. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
damn well was.
Yeah. So don't.
So yeah, won't spoil it. Listen to it.
Watch it.
I agree with John. There's more.
No,
It makes sense, but
that's
no.
so gay. It's unreal.
There's probably more than one tagline for it.
But no, I get the idea why this
John,
time
John,
it's
just-
more, but it's not. It's
Just
this
keep
time's more.
saying it until it becomes true.
Yeah, exactly.
Until it
Yeah.
becomes a thing.
Anyway, that's
time
one,
there's
number,
more.
that's one number 2.
Damn good pick.
Do it
sir.
until it's a Mandela
Such a good
effect.
pick. It was going to go in the top 5, but I find it more to the sci-fi element to it on that one.
Yeah,
Whereas
to
the
be
first
fair.
one is more of a horror.
Yeah.
So I didn't put it in there at all. It's an honorable mention for me. But my number 2 is John Carpenter's The Thing.
See, I'm surprised that's not. Well, okay, but yeah, I knew that was going to be.
It was going to be high. It was very closely going to be number 1, but my number 1 was going to be something else that sort of affected me more through the 80s.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go with this for now. Anyone who knows me knows this is one of my favorite movies of all time. But this is the movie. This is the ultimate paranoia movie. The ultimate practical effects movie that still holds up to 40 years from now. If no one knows what the thing is, where have you been living?
Yeah.
It's about a bunch of scientists that
It's
come
not
up
like we've been talking about it many
for
times.
4 years or anything. But again, very quickly, it's about a bunch of scientists in Antarctica that come across an alien life form that can manipulate or copy living
host.
things. It's a host of things. It affects obviously one of the scientists there, and it's all just a case of like, who is he? Where did you run off to on your own?
Yeah.
It's just one giant big paranoia of like, we can't let them leave the room because they could be this or
it's a scare fest, isn't
absolutely.
it? Because,
And Rob Bottin's effects to this day, oh my God, still hold up to now.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
some kids in this generation might say, oh, that's so stupid. It looks really cack or whatever. But you can't deny how good they look now. Even with the 4K transfers and whatnot, they still look amazing now. You can't deny it. Again, back to with Aliens, you've got characters you care about. They all have their own differences and everything. Every time I go and watch this movie, I always try and figure out something else in there, like whose shadow is that in the background, or what actually could have happened to this character. And that's what I love about this one, because it doesn't explain it all in
And
once.
that's the mark of an amazing film. If you keep going back and you see something new every single time, and it still affects you every single time.
Exactly.
Would you say this was John Carpenter's finest film?
It is hands down. It's his
Yeah.
finest masterpiece of all time.
Yeah.
Next
I
to
agree.
Halloween, of course, but definitely this one. I I don't want to keep going back because I've mentioned it for like 4 years, but
we have done it before.
we have done it before. We've done a commentary
Again,
corner
it's a
as
film
well.
it's a film you can quote.
Yeah, the board games
many
for it are
quotes,
amazing.
yeah.
It always makes you relive that
Jesus,
experience.
yeah, I like that, yeah.
Looking forward to the remaster of the game. Which
Yes.
they must have listened to M.T.V.B. because we kept talking about that for ages, and they
we did.
finally announced it. It's going to happen this year. So good. But as an 80s one, it's one of those 80s movies where if I watched it today, I wouldn't have thought it was made in the 80s. Does that
No,
make sense
very
at all?
true. Yeah,
yeah.
Like it could have been like a 90s or early 2000s or something, maybe.
And that is the culmination of absolutely everything that makes that film. It is timeless. I think it is timeless.
Absolutely. So yeah, had to go on the list. Won't go too much about it because I keep talking about it. That's my number 2.
Honourable
John
mention.
Carpenter's The Thing.
For me as well, because
Honourable mention.
I'm not talking about it again. It's been on here too many. My number 2
Numero
is The Shining.
Hey!
Now, I wondered if I don't think it's your number 1. It's not. No.
I just wore this for effect. I thought it was going to be at Howard's list, but now it's not. So.
Is it not?
Who knows?
Who knows? Right, it can't be. It can't be. Hang on. for all those people
Exactly.
listening. Anyway, I've got a sense that it might not be for all those people listening.
You've got
rather
the
than watching.
shinin.
Yeah. I love this film. This is a classic in every
is.
sense of the
It is,
word.
yeah.
And I love the vibe of it. So again, I don't think I really need to explain the plot. They go to take a job up in the family takes their kid, the boy, up into the sort of Overlook Hotel.
The Overlook Hotel, yeah.
Which is in the mountains, sort of cut off by snow in the winter, and it's empty, and they're just there to caretake it. And obviously, he starts going a bit loopy, or understatement.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I love that. There's so many good shots of the hotel coming up.
Beautiful.
It's a very iconic building. If you've watched it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
It's very iconic rug.
Very iconic
Yeah.
rug. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know really what to say. This is so synonymous within pop culture of this now. I think you'd be very hard pushed to find someone who doesn't know or hasn't seen some of the iconic scenes.
It's a Stephen King book done right.
Yeah,
You know, it's very hard to do.
Stephen King didn't like the movie, did he?
No, he didn't.
No.
But I, on our director's episodes, I mentioned Kubrick.
You did?
And I think Kubrick made it. The novel is absolutely spectacular because Stephen King is a horror god.
Icon,
He is. But yeah, I think Kubrick, he took that idea and he made it his own.
Yeah.
Would it have been as successful and effective
Stephen
if it
King
had
had
been
done it?
well,
Or
if it had been directed by anybody else but Kubrick?
Yeah.
no.
Can I ask,
Hard
does
to
it
say,
actually
yeah.
scare you, though, that movie?
I think not in like a sort of. Oh my god! I think that it comes from the sort of like the dread fear of it a bit more. In that it's not. There are sort of supernatural elements to it in places.
It's spooky scenes, isn't it?
But it you know, like with
It's a
the
different
weird
type of
zombie
scare,
woman
isn't
in the bath, you know.
Oh, yeah, the old hag,
That is
yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
But then it's loneliness. It's being sort of trapped again. We've talked about isolation and things. I think it's like a dread for me because that could happen. I mean, it probably has happened around the world, not in the exact same way, but there is nothing stopping someone going a little bit crazy and then taking an axe and trying to smash their way in.
It's a different type of scare.
Yeah, it's
It's not necessarily horror. It's kind of it's fairly psychological in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you say, and what is compounded more with the fact that he's got a wife and a kid with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
So,
trying to take out his wife as well.
So there's that peril, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of elements.
It's definitely a psychological horror as opposed to a lot of the other stuff we've mentioned in this.
Like a slasher horror or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think some people wouldn't like it for that, but for me, it is a classic. The acting in that is really good
Yeah.
the whole way through.
You couldn't mention. Say if you said to anybody, can you just name 5 80s horrors? The Shining would be in there.
And I mean, there's so many little good scenes in it. You know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
No TV, no beer, make Homer something.
The Simpsons did it early doors, so you know it's pop culture or like part of the zeitgeist there, don't you? But it's a very good film.
And the actress, died not long. Wendy
Duvall, was it?
That's it. Yeah, she
Shelley
died
Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. That's it.
Duvall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was this
she-
year, wasn't it?
Yeah, she died recently. Yeah. But she sort of didn't she drop off the radar a little bit?
She went quiet for a while.
Yeah.
Cuckoo.
She had issues of her
Issues,
own in a private and personal life, yeah. And I think, and again, I talked about that on the director's episode. It was allegedly a lot of
Stanley,
it
wasn't it?
It was
manifested
caused by-
itself
yeah.
during the making
Yeah.
of this film because of Kubrick's directorial style.
His style, yeah.
Which is sad, and Mars, an otherwise good film, I suppose. But, and
did you like the sequel at all? Have you seen
I
Dr.
did
Sleep?
actually like
Dr.
the
He
sequel.
is good, isn't
I
he?
like
I
Dr.
like
Sleep.
the
It's
way,
quite faithful to the book as well.
and
Actually.
I like the way they come back and it expands on the whole The Shining sort of element of it. You've got the creatures that are hunting the shine.
Yes.
You know, I do quite like that. Yeah,
I forgot Mike Flanagan did that as well.
Yeah.
but like I say, I just love it as a different tempo horror film. But I wanted to put it in amongst all of the other
Yeah.
more gory, slashery, body horror-y style things. So I thought
Sure.
it's a different thing, different sort of vein from the rest of the stuff we've been talking about, but I don't think it's less.
No. Because it's like when you think of horror films, people think like vampires or Lost
Yeah.
Boys or like slasher horrors, things like that. So this it deserves its own place.
I think psychological horror has developed a bit, and that's more of a later thing. I think it got bigger later.
Yeah.
This helped. I think
as,
this set
Oh,
the
yeah,
scene.
yeah, yeah.
as its genre. So I think this is more of like a trailblazer for that
Yes.
style of thing, and that sort of sense of tension and building dread towards a climactic event, which we see a lot more in sort of more modern horrors. Some sort of modern horrors.
But also the enduring myth of the Shining.
Yeah.
A lot has been built into the film that wasn't necessarily included in the book. Again, down to Kubrick, and people talk about it to this very day about what certain scenes or certain elements actually mean. I don't think.
Well, I like the fact that it ends and you've got the picture of the old staff, haven't you? And
Yeah.
Yes, and he's in it
and
as
he's
well.
in it.
Yeah.
You've always been here,
Yeah,
Jack.
yeah. Yeah. And I love the fact you've got those scenes where he's talking to the bartender.
Yeah.
Lloyd,
Lloyd, yeah.
Yeah, and you know
who was Tyrell.
He was
In
yeah,
Blade Runner.
yeah.
Yeah. I think again, maybe this is just down to my style, but I kind of like that like empty grand building. There's something so weird about like big buildings that you're supposed to see full of people. I think they become, and then again, this might just be my opinion, but I think they become a bit more chilling.
Yeah, because
You're waiting for something, aren't
Well,
you?
you're in a place where they're in like a dance hall where you see shots of the people in there dancing and drinking and enjoying themselves. But when you take the human element out of that, it just becomes a big, empty, more frightening place. Little weird thing, but you worked at Gatwick during COVID, didn't you?
Yes.
How weird was it to walk around an airport that you'd never see empty, even in the middle of the night, and it to be just dead?
Yeah,
It's funny,
me and
I-
John did patrols during that.
Exactly.
I remember that. Yeah,
It becomes a much more creepy thing, and you're
I
like,
spoke about
I've worked.
this. I worked the other day.
Yeah,
I
I
was saying it to someone. I said I've been there when the volcanic ash cloud was
Same,
the
yeah.
same thing.
But COVID was a different
Oh,
thing.
COVID
compared
was
to that.
COVID was a
You
that
just-
was.
You've got this place which has tens of
You've
thousands
got echoes
of people.
now. We were walking down
Yeah.
corridors and we were hearing
Yeah.
echoes where we never heard.
But you
before.
worked there for many, many years. You've done patrols in the dead of night,
Yeah,
and you know, and
there's always
I would-
people around.
And there's always people around. I'll tell you, it was a different feeling when you're in
Gotcha.
such a space
Yeah.
that's usually full of people,
It
got
looked
life
bigger.
in it,
It
and
looked
there's
bigger.
nothing there.
yeah.
The corridors look bigger, because there's no people there to make it look smaller. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't see that wall because there's a big queue of people there. Now there's nobody there.
I also got G really good, didn't I? In COVID.
You did.
I just did a text of my best sort of leather face. down one of the really long piers.
He shit himself.
He was not expecting that. Anyway, yeah. So what was I talking about?
Shining.
Shining. Yeah. So
Damn good pick.
I like it. I mean, my sister hates it. I don't know. She's a big horror fan. But everyone has their own thing.
Absolutely.
I think this deserves to be somewhere on the list.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's on there.
It is
Yeah,
on
yeah.
my list.
Yes, you like it, so
Number 2.
Number 2. Let's bring it home with number 1.
It's number 1.
Okay, Howard. The number 1 schlock. Let's go for it.
Schlock horror number 1 is 1985's Reanimator.
Hey! Honourable mention from me.
I remember that film. I did like that one.
A little known fact about Reanimator is that it is a H.P. Lovecraft story.
It is.
Of
That's right, yeah.
Cthulhu mythos fame. I discovered Reanimator long before I knew about H.P. Lovecraft and the world of Cthulhu. So Reanimator, the film, as opposed to the short story, is about a character called Herbert West.
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs.
He's
Herbert
such a
West.
good actor.
He
He's
is, yeah. It's very schlocky, which is why it's on this list. But Herbert West within this story, he's an amateur scientist come medical student. He winds up at Arkham University. What Herbert West has discovered is a reanimating agent, so a reagent, and he has been able to bring the recently deceased corpses of things back to life.
Yes.
He tested it out on a recently deceased cat. This cat comes to life, goes absolutely insane. He kills it again, then brings it back to life. It's an insane story. The effects, I think, are very, very good. Do they quite stand up? Yeah, I think they're mildly believable. It's the story and the acting more than anything that brings it to life for me. And it also tells that Dr. Frankenstein story again.
Yes.
Yeah. So Herbert West is Dr. Frankenstein, and his best mate is the guy who, in the original novel, is telling the story. He's telling the story of Dr. Frankenstein and these creatures that he brings to life. And he convinces his friends to help him in order to be able to push forward this science that he's discovered, this brand new discovery. It's going to change the world. It's very camp in places. I don't think that detracts from the story, and it is very well acted, especially by Jeffrey Combs. He's such a good actor.
He is.
He's so over the top in everything, but he's brilliant.
He is brilliant, yeah, and believable to boot. Basically, Reanimator is it's a story of a well-meaning genius.
Yeah, I was going to say well-meaning.
He is well-meaning. His intent is pure and it's there, but he just absolutely goes out on a limb, and it all just goes horribly wrong from there. And unfortunately, yes, he starts doing some very salubrious things. He starts killing his lecturers, his tutors. Heads are reanimated, bodies are reanimated.
He's trying to forward his cause more and more.
He is trying to forward his
he?
cause, but it goes completely left field and gets out of control very, very quickly. I mean, there's one scene where his companion's girlfriend is lying on a table completely naked, because Herbert West has been
Going dancing with the seven
Herbert
head.
West has been subdued, and this head of his old tutor, his old lecturer, is the body has got the head, and he's pushing it forward into this girl's groinal region. It's not porn, folks.
There's a weird theme here, Howard.
It's body horror again.
It's body horror, yeah, and schlock. I think this is ultimately what schlock is for me. Yeah. It's an enjoyable film. Again, it's very affecting because you watch it and you just think, Jesus Christ, what did I just watch? But like a lot of these films, that I think 90% of them are body horror. Yeah, it's got to be seen.
I don't like body horror.
No, I bloody hate it, but I still watch it for some reason. Yeah, it's got to be seen to be believed. But if anybody, a lot of the people around this table absolutely love the Cthulhu mythos.
Yes.
It ties very loosely into it. The 85 film doesn't follow those lines, but it's got Arkham at university in there, and there's several little hints to the universe at large. But yeah, as a standalone film, for its shock horror value, that's why I placed it.
I'm sure I read something recently where they're talking about redoing that.
Very possibly.
They've been trying to do that for years.
Yeah, there's several sequels that go along to it. This one is the best one, I think.
Yeah.
Is this the one that rips off the Psycho soundtrack?
Yes, I think it
Oh, I
does.
I think it does. I think it's this one.
It's been a
isn't
while
it?
since I've seen it, but
So,
I'll have to go back and
Back to
rewatch
Jeffrey
it.
Combs. I love another 80s movie of his called From Beyond.
Yes. Yeah, From
And,
Beyond, yeah.
and I couldn't remember if it was Reanimator or this. I love From Beyond. I think it's so cool.
It could be From Beyond. I can't
It
remember.
probably is. I
Gonna
don't
have
remember,
to
but
watch
it's one,
it
it's
again,
one of
but-
the two, yeah.
Yeah, From Beyond. But From Beyond is another H.P. Lovecraft.
It is, yes, absolutely.
And it's very interesting to note that a lot of horror films now, especially now and back in the day, take from H.P. Lovecraft's universe a lot of his ideas, and we never knew about it. Yeah, Reanimator is a very good example of that.
Very good pick, sir. I didn't see that coming, honestly.
Oh,
So what's the number one shock?
the shock horror, for anybody that can see, Friday the 13th.
Nice.
Well, it's
Which one?
It's 1980s original Friday the 13th, where the character of Jason does not appear. But what do we get? We get his insane mother, Mrs. Voorhees. For anybody who doesn't know the story of Friday the 13th, young Jason Voorhees drowned. He drowned in Camp Crystal Lake's lake because the camp counselors at the time were having sex. How very dare them.
How dare they?
How dare they? The interesting thing about the character of Jason Voorhees is that he was a disfigured child. And again, there was this bullying aspect. So he was bullied the whole time that he was at Camp Crystal Lake. The counsellors didn't look after him. And he drowned. He went out swimming. he drowned years later. Camp Crystal Lake has reopened because at the time there was a series of killings. I'm seeing a theme here. So Camp Crystal Lake was closed. A couple of decades later, they've decided to reopen it. Quite why you would do that, I have absolutely no idea.
It's got a death curse.
It has got a death curse. Days before the camp is due to reopen, the counsellors are arriving, and well, would you believe it? Bodies start to drop once again. A very early appearance from Kevin Bacon in this film. He dies a very horrible death. It's entertaining. It's gory. It sets up the whole legend of Jason Voorhees and what is to come. I just love it because at the end, I think you kind of see it coming. There is a little bit of the twist. Did you know that Jason was my son?
That should have been on the killing bit, sorry.
It should have been, but never mind. We get Pamela Voorhees, who is avenging the death of her son. She did it at the time. She's doing it again. How dare you reopen this camp? This is my son's final resting place.
Doesn't she sort of have a split personality about it as well? Because she uses his voice sometimes.
There is an element of it, yeah. So she's kind of living Jason through herself.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just makes it even more chilling, really. She is dispatched at the end of this film, and a legendary franchise is born from that.
Yes.
Because the final camp counselor, the final girl who survives, she pushes out into the lake. And this little sea urchin, he leaps out of the water, and he goes to pull her under the water. And is it a dream? Is it real? Well,
who knows?
Episode 2, part 2 suggested it wasn't real. It was a dream. But yeah, it just goes on from there.
So number 1 is your pick.
Number 1 is my pick for the 80s.
Wow.
Over part 6.
Really?
Yeah. The reason that it is my top number 1 pick for the 80s is because without it, we would not get
everything else.
That's what gave you the interest in the franchise, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I do love it for its pure shock value, its shock horror value, because there are a lot of pretty nasty kills in this, and it's quite imaginative as well. And there are a lot of things that, although we said in the 70s, Halloween set up this template, this archetype. I think Friday the 13th do some things a little bit better. Lends very heavily to Halloween, but
absolutely.
I love the Friday the 13th franchise. I love Jason Voorhees as a character, this undead, unkillable zombie who, in his head, he's going out to do the right thing. He's avenging his mother's death, who was avenging his death, and he's going to stop sex before marriage and all this sort of thing. And it's got some bizarre roots in some wholesome ideas, but yeah, it's just I don't know what else to say about it, really. We could go on and on and on and on. Everybody knows that I love Friday the 13th, and that's why it's number 1.
Yeah.
Nice pick. I thought it was going to be number 6. I didn't think it would be number 1, but
definitely
good reason for it, though. Nice
we
one.
talk about number 6 elsewhere.
We will.
We do, yes.
Couple of weeks.
We do, we will. Time is a very odd thing, folks.
It is.
It is. So then, over to John.
My number 1 was your number 2. The Thing.
Oh, is it yours? Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
No, that's fine. You know.
But why?
Again, I think I liked it. Yeah. I think it's like you were saying, you've got the group of people and the element of distrust that goes through them because you don't know, is it him or is it him? And you know it's not you. And that just...
John, I hate to tell you, it was the dog.
It wasn't the dog. But yeah, I like... Because they did the film that was supposed to be the prequel.
I love the prequel.
Yeah, so
I love the prequel.
I like that, and I like to watch that first, and then.
No, you can't do that. You have to go back.
The story flows better.
You have to go back.
No. I prefer to watch.
We've had this argument before.
We have.
Anyway,
we have had this argument before. But yeah, and then like they say, you get to the end of it, and it's like, is he or isn't he, sort of thing. It just leaves you with that. There's no, that's it. The guy's dead. End of. No, it's just. And it's just sparks so much. But I just love the fact, it's a film you can quote. There's so many bits in it, like the government, they are strapped to the chair. It just makes me laugh, really.
Tied to this fucking couch!
Yeah. And
but I have a new theory.
go on.
The thing.
Go on. There's so many, but
Did you know? Well, it's not a did you know, it's a theory to it. So,
Right.
spoilers for anyone who's not seen it. Skip 2 minutes of this if you want to.
if you haven't watched it.
Obviously, the dog, they
Yeah.
come to the dog,
Yeah.
and the dog licks, what's his name? The ginger guy, I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Licks his face, yeah.
So it licks his face,
Yeah,
doesn't he? Yep.
Yeah.
So he's infected. Okay,
Yes.
because all it takes is saliva, doesn't it,
yes,
to do it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and then he drinks from a whiskey bottle, because
That's
he
right.
checks his wound,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
gun wound, and then
Yeah.
as the others run off, he drinks from a whiskey bottle.
Slugging it out.
That whiskey bottle is McCready's whiskey bottle.
Oh.
So when McCready is playing,
Yeah, 'cause he drinks from it.
drinks from the
Yeah,
bottle.
yeah.
Okay, then later on, okay, he drinks when he locks Blair.
Yeah.
In the thing,
Yeah.
he thinks Blair's one of them. He drinks from his vodka bottle first, and then gives it to Blair. Right, and then at the very end of the movie, we all think Childs
Yeah,
is the thing
that's
because
right,
he
yeah.
doesn't have any breath.
That's right, yeah.
Well, McCready drinks from a bottle
Yeah.
and then passes it to Childs. And after he passes it to Childs, he does this. So he's infected Childs.
Yeah.
That's my theory
That makes
anyway.
sense. It makes sense.
McCready was always the thing from the start.
Yeah.
No one got it. But then it kind of negates the blood test theory part of it. So maybe it's not, but it's pretty freaking good. You've got to admit, right?
But he could have been infected after the
Maybe
blood
after,
test.
yes, yeah.
Because that was quite clever, the blood
Yeah.
test. You know,
But that's another little nod to make you go back and watch it, folks.
Yes.
Anyway, no spoilers now.
No. Again, it's a film you can watch multiple times.
Yeah. Anything else on the thing then, John?
No, we'll leave it there. We move on.
Okay. My number one is A Clash with Howard himself, and I have gone for A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
You can't have the 80s without Freddy Krueger. No. I'm sorry. He is one of the most iconic characters of the 80s. It's, with everything else thrown in, like Where's the Beef and all that sort of stuff, right? Okay. You've got Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
But the reason I picked this one is that I like, I shouldn't say like, but the way he kills his victims is like it's done through, how do I say it, like a bodily requirement. Like a body needs to sleep. So he will get you at some point. Yeah. Or if you look at the famous Doctor Who episode where you need to blink and angels will get you. Other movies that where you need to breathe and stuff like that. I think like some of the Saw movies, some of the traps where you have to breathe and stuff and it will, hit you with some of that sort of
Something you can't not do.
something you can't avoid, essentially.
And
And
it's very real. It's a very real fear as well.
it is, yeah, absolutely. And I do believe this was like based on a person that died in their dreams or something, isn't it? There was like a thing Wes Craven found.
I think it's kind of like urban myth, urban legend, isn't it?
It was something he's like a child in Thailand sort of died in his dream, and he took the influence from that sort of thing. But Robert Englund himself is, and I'm not just going with the first one. I'm going to go through a majority of the sequels as well. Not all of them, because let's face it, they're not all perfect. No. But Robert Englund himself has gone from this scary, creepy, burnt face guy with razors for hands to, like I said, he got to like the M.T.V. sort of audience, didn't he? And it's M.T.V.B. then. Yeah. Who rushes to go see horror movies like this? Who goes to see, I want to see someone kill? That's what the power of Freddy Krueger did. Yeah. And then you have all the bizarre different scenarios because it's your dreams at the end of the day. So it's never going to be like a realistic thing. Like there's a scene where Freddy Krueger's arms go way out so she can't escape. It's like, well, why is he doing that? Because you're in the dream. It's like, it's never going to be real.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. But from what Howard said about the killings and stuff and how imaginary they are, and they are just phenomenal how it's done. And again, I said it for all the other ones, the independent filmmaking that Wes Craven went from like carrying a body victim up onto the ceiling and cutting her up and stuff like that. Just so imaginative, these effects and stuff and whatnot. What else can I say about him really? He's the guy. He is the one that I've grown up with. You grew up with Jason. Yeah. Mine was Freddy. Yeah. So when we had the Freddy versus Jason thing, of course I was behind Freddy on that one. But again, divisive fans and all that sort of stuff, isn't it?
My guy won.
Did he though? Did he though? That's his thing. But
rivalry, can't beat it.
I want to go into a nice little fact about it because obviously Howard's explained it too much, so I won't go into too much about it. But did you know Right, so I will show you very quickly the poster for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Have a quick look at that and see if you can see anything in that. That's weird.
I need to look at it a bit more, but yeah.
Well, the thing that always gets me about that poster is the eyes above the glove.
Okay,
Is that what we're
I'm going to
focusing
zoom
on?
in on something. You won't be able to see this on audio, guys, but I'm going to zoom in on something. See that little snake character there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah?
yeah.
Did you ever notice that in the picture, in the poster at all before?
No.
So that character never appears in the movie. It's just there. So recently someone got onto the designer of the poster
Right.
and said, why is that in there? And he goes, well, actually, it's for a different movie, but I needed space to put something else in there. So it's in that poster.
So what movie is it from?
I don't know what the movie it's from, but
That's really bizarre.
but it's just weird. No one ever saw that.
No.
And I never even noticed that before. But Freddy Krueger, the second one we did, which was totally not what we needed for a sequel. But number 3, I'm going to talk about 3 very quickly. 3 was the one that I sort of grew up with, and I think it's the
that's
one
the
I love
Dream
the
Warrior,
most. The
isn't it?
Dream Warriors
Yeah.
is so cool when it's all in the mental home, and again, very creative deaths in that with the puppets and stuff like that, and the fact that kids can actually have their own comeback to it. They can be their dream selves, their dream powers and whatnot. And again, Robert Englund just nails it every single time, and he always gives us, even though he is the same character, he's always a different Freddy in every sequel or every new part to it. Even the last one he did was New Nightmare, but that's 90s. We might talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah.
But I can't deny Freddy Krueger is the one who's, it's my guy. It's 40 years old this year, so I'm looking forward to the 4K, which should be here any day soon.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to do that. And gotta do it. Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I don't think anyone else could do Freddy other than Robert Englund
No.
because he does it so well. So yeah.
R.I.P. Wes Craven.
Yes.
Over to you, sir. Bring it home. The last one.
Come
Number
on.
1. Number 1.
Number 1. You know what this is. It's Hellraiser 2.
Is it
Oh,
2?
it is
Oh,
2.
I can't stand 2.
Why?
No, I like
It is like the most gratuitous, violent film ever. And it's like it's there,
creepy
it's
as
there for
hell.
the sake of it, and it's not even there for reason. It's just like, let's cut this guy up just because we can,
So,
Come at me.
Yeah. Come at me, bitch.
I like this one, right? Because you get a bit more of the hellscape.
Yes.
You get a bit more of the Leviathan. You get a bit more of the lore behind it.
Okay,
You
yeah.
said in the first one you barely see the Cenobites.
Sure.
Right? In this one, there's a lot more of them in. So I like that. I like the design of that otherworldly realm. You said
Yeah,
it
we
was-
get to see their side, isn't it?
We said it was like a prison. You get this lovely, that very 80s shot of like a...
It's like a map painting of a labyrinth.
Yeah, it's
or
like an
something, isn't it?
infinite labyrinth, and then you've got the really iconic Leviathan.
Yes.
Yeah, like
yeah.
the diamond
Diamond in the sky.
Yeah.
So I like and I like the fact that it takes it to that otherworldly place. So it takes what the original story was like a very contained thing in one house. This one we sort of move around a bit more. The daughter from the first one, Becca.
Kirsty.
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 is now in a mental hostel, isn't she? A mental home even. And you've got Julia she's the one who comes back, isn't she?
Yes.
So she gets brought back.
On the mattress.
Yeah, and the
She died on that mattress.
yeah. And the guy from the hospital ward is trying to bring her back, is it? So he's feeding her bodies.
Yeah, the guy in charge. And
You've got that horrible attic where she's like just got all the dead bodies and stuff. There's a lot more sort of like horror in that aspect of it. But like I say, I find I really like the first one. It's only
I did like the second one, to be fair.
I like it. I like it because
Gives
I
me
know,
chills,
yeah,
that
yeah.
one. Oof.
I like it because it takes what the first one founded and then expands on it a bit more.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I just really like that sort of art style. Where you said it's like the weird painting that they've sort of done of the labyrinth world. I like that because in the first one you're not really given much about the Cenobites massively.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
you're given an introduction.
You're
to
given
it.
an introduction to them. You don't get to sort of see. You know that they're from some other place. They're
Another realm, like you
Yeah.
say, isn't it?
that they're trying to get something. So this filled that itch for me because it was like, okay, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. But again, like Howard said, it was more of a human thing in that one because it's a love story, like you said,
Yes, it is, yeah.
effectively a weird, twisted, wrong love story. And we do kind of get a replay of that in this, but it does expand it a little bit more.
I mean, number 2, it's very creative. It's very effective.
Yes.
I think that David Warner, who plays the guy in the head of the hospital, doesn't he?
Dr. Chilton or something.
Is that his
Doctors
name?
and
And that is a really weird,
That is
creepy
good.
sound.
that freaks me out, man.
So when he's got all those
Attaches to his
things
head.
poking in the back of his head, in the back of his body, and he's just floating about like that. Oh,
It's the penis drill, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the penis thing that comes on his head, isn't it?
Beyond that, I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done with hell.
Yeah, just,
We've capped out this lovely, I don't like horror, body horror thing with some little body horror there.
But it was that really tops it all off for me. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to watch anymore.
no, I just know.
But I kind of like, and as we've gone on,
There's bits in it that you didn't see coming. I must admit.
There's bits in it you wanted more from it because of budgetary restrictions. They couldn't. Like, there's a fight scene between the Doctor and the Cenobites. It's like, okay, here we go. It's over.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
But at the time, that's not what.
Oh no, yeah, of course, yeah.
But like that film again, it does what it does really well is it makes me want to see more. Like I want to delve even further after watching that because I want to know what the hell the Leviathan is.
Yeah, sick fuck.
I mean, well, it's some sort of god.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But like, what
God
is
of
it?
what,
Where does
though?
it come from? Is
Yeah,
is it like a Cthulhu thing where it's in
Well,
somewhere
exactly,
else?
yeah.
Is it an entity from beyond? Is it something that was created? Like, it made me want to carry on watching.
They kind of go into it a little bit more with the remake, didn't they? But it still wasn't enough.
And we can't really talk about the remake. That's not the 80s.
No, of course not.
The remake is really the newest one is really good.
Yeah.
Which actually has a female Pinhead.
Yes.
That one.
That's
Yeah.
right, was it number 2? It had like the Chatterer. Was
Yes,
it?
the Chatterer.
Well, he's in 1 and 2, but he changed differently in this one, wasn't it?
Again, introduction to those types of characters, and then there's like quite an obese one as well. Isn't there?
He's in the first one as well, yeah.
Oh, I couldn't be doing with it. It was just pushing it too far for me.
No, but I really like that. I like seeing more of the Cenobites.
Yeah.
Because they are scary.
Yeah,
They were the
and they-
scary part of the first one, so you want to see more of them. I'd found anyway.
Yeah. But,
So I mean,
and what's interesting with each one of them, they've each got their individual sort of torment.
Yes, they're all different.
Yeah, different.
So you've got like the big one with the tiny little glasses.
Yeah.
The blubber guy.
Blubbered guy. You've got the Chatterer and things like that.
You've got the one with the neck
girl-
hole.
the woman with the
throat
yeah.
opened up. Yeah. I'm straying a bit, but go and watch the remake because that's a very good example
Damn
of
good.
where
Very
they've
good
taken a
interpretation
well-known.
of it, yeah.
did Clive
franchise.
Barker do that one? Was that him?
No, but they've taken a really good franchise that has its established thing, and it changes it, but it does its own thing.
adds to it.
But it adds to the whole thing. Like they've gone away from the whole bondage gear, like the black leathery PVC stuff. Except they change it to like skin, so their own
So it's
skin.
their own skin is their
Sealed
suits now.
back to like make their suits and stuff. They've
She's
got-
fantastic. Like, I was
she's
so
good.
worried about her design. She's phenomenal. She's so good, honestly.
We did kind of like
and you
that
get
came up in
some-
the conversation a couple of times, didn't it? Whether she would be any good in it, and she was.
Yeah,
She
true,
was.
yeah.
And you get some new Cenobites in it as well, don't you?
Yeah.
And
Loads
some
of new
good ones.
ones.
They're not just like from Hellraiser 3 where it's a guy with some CDs stuck in his head.
Oh, that one, yeah.
The DJ from Hell.
Or the guy who... is it Clive Barker who's got the camera on his head? He ends up with...
That's
the third
his.
one?
That's the third one. Yeah,
That's
the
the
news
third one,
guy.
yeah. The
Ready
news
for your
guy.
close-up, Julie?
Yeah. But in the new one, you get sort of some really good ones. You get the one who's like stuck in a prayer thing, isn't it? The wheezing one.
Oh, that's good. That one. Yeah.
Stuck in like a...
Yeah.
And that again does what the second film does because it expands. So you go into more of the lament, the
Configuration.
box. The lament
Configuration, yes,
the
yeah.
lament configuration is the square.
Yeah.
And then through this guy's study, he's
Oh,
figured
there's
out
like
that there's
seven.
six.
Is it six or
I
seven
think there's like
levels,
6,
isn't there? Yeah.
and each one means something different.
right, yeah.
So if you can progress and do everything, you can choose when you face the end Leviathan, the god.
It would
of
give you a
whatever
gift,
is.
won't it?
It gives you a gift of life,
Yeah.
knowledge, things like that. And he chose one.
Power,
where-
pleasure, whatever it is.
power,
Yeah.
pleasure. Each configuration has a different thing, but you've got to have cycled through all of the different ones, making a sacrifice each of someone else each
Someone
time.
has to do the box. And
So I feel like that really, and that's what I liked about the second one. You can, and the first one is very good.
It helps you understand
I love
the first one.
but
There are moments in
it
two
just
I like, but I
pushes
just
it.
don't like the violence in it is way over the top than it needed to be for me. Like there's literally a scene where they make a guy cut himself over a thingy. I know there's a reason for it, but you could do it just not as much as they did in that film. Like they literally there's 2 minutes of him cutting himself. I'm like, come on, you don't need to go that far.
But again, this is in the.
But then we talk about 90s one,
I
he
was
might
gonna
come back at me at this one. So.
this is coming out in the 80s.
True, yeah.
So maybe they felt like that they needed to have that element of gore in it.
Well,
Because
let's go back to the question I said earlier, wasn't it? Like, is this the goriest decade out of it? Because they knew they can do it, couldn't they? Yeah.
I mean, they probably just thought, let's put some of that in. I mean, that's quite disturbing, isn't it? Seeing
absolutely,
someone slice themselves up like that. But whether it's needed, I mean, you could argue for or against. But no, I wanted to put Hellraiser 2 in for those reasons, because it expands, and I like it when something takes something that you know that you want to see more of and expands.
And it gives
on
it to
sort of deepens the lore and expands the world a little bit. And I love the fact, and I like that weird. I've got a real nostalgia, and I've said it before. I really like that weird animation that they do. It's very nostalgic for me of the
Leviathan.
And the sort of the labyrinth.
Yeah.
I like that weird, almost like a painting style, sort of like an abstract. It reminds me a bit of, I can't remember what the flipping painting is, but the one where all the staircases are
it's Escher.
Oh, yeah.
going into different...
MC Escher, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying, just to look...
MC Hammer, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, that's that guy. Anyway, so I mean, and that's me. My number one, pretty much. Hellraiser 2.
Nice.
Nice
Good
pick.
pick. Obviously, good picks there. A few clashes. Not as many as I thought there was. But yeah. Any honourable mentions?
Got quite a few.
Let's do it.
Go for it. You're probably going to mention most of the ones.
Yeah.
on-
These are in no particular
We can
order.
fill in the gaps.
Talking about John Carpenter, we've got The Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
Yep.
The original House. So we've got House 2, House. Critters. Is in-
Yeah.
Damn, yeah.
Aliens is on that list. The Thing. I've got The Shining. The Fly. So Jeff Goldblum's
Yes.
The Fly.
one of
Fright
mine.
Night is on there.
What is it with you and David Cronenberg?
Oh, mate, I know. An American Werewolf in London obviously had to be there. Poltergeist.
Yeah,
I've
one
got
of
The
mine.
Lost Boys, The Fog, John, the original Evil Dead, a film called The Changeling from
I
very
remember
early.
that,
yeah.
Very, very creepy. Supernatural type of film,
Yes,
that one.
yeah.
Gremlins.
Gremlins.
Yeah, of course it
I've
is.
stuck another werewolf
Yeah,
on there. It is The Howling.
Yes.
Child.
Love that. That was my pick over American Werewolf, The
Right.
Howling.
Child's Play.
Yep.
Yes.
They Live. That was
Yes,
John
They
Carpenter
Live.
With Roddy
Is
Piper's
that a horror
another-
film? You class
it's
that as I said it's more sci-fi
It's
than
more
horror.
sci-fi. It's got horror elements to it.
I was going to say it's
okay.
got horror elements to it.
Hellraiser is there. Scanners. I love a
Oh,
good
God,
exploding
yeah.
head. Gotta love it. Exploding heads. The Scanners is on there. Beetlejuice. This is the year of Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And John.
But is Beetlejuice really a horror?
I was going to say, is that horror?
comedy
it's
horror.
Comedy
It's
horror.
I would
comedy
say
horror.
comedy horror.
The Hitcher.
Yeah, that was one of mine. The Hitcher.
Rutger is the Hitcher.
Anything else, John? You got any more?
He said virtually all of mine.
You got any?
Hills Have Eyes?
Yes.
That's the 80s?
That was the 70s.
Or Hills Have Eyes 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I knew one of them was.
Yeah.
That's
Anything
the
else?
Film. And I think you've covered a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've just read off a little.
Pretty much everything to come out.
I had The Fly on there as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
I had The Thing and Aliens, but I thought I'm not putting them on because we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And I thought
I had
would
Fright
clash.
Night. I had Fright Night and Monster Squad, but they've already come up, so
Nice.
I had quite a few more.
I've only got a couple more to add to that. So Return of the Living Dead,
Return of the Living Dead.
Yes.
Yeah. What a weird film that was.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh my God.
You like that one, don't you?
Oh.
He does like that.
What about Pulp Fiction?
That's 90s.
90s.
Is that 90s?
90s, yeah.
94.
Is it?
You're putting Pulp Fiction as a horror.
Sorry, not Pulp Fiction. What's the one that Peter Jackson did?
Oh, Brain Dead.
No.
Brain Dead's 90s.
No, the one
Bad
before it.
Taste
Bad
was-
Taste.
Oh,
Bad Taste is 80s,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is 80s. Yeah, Bad Taste.
Night of the Creeps.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here. And what's the bad news? They're dead. Maniac Cop.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, Bruce Campbell.
And the last one, starring Robert England, Galaxy of Terror.
Oh, that one. That is so weird.
Where a
isn't it?
woman
Yeah.
gets fucked by a giant magnet.
I don't know that
maggots, sorry.
Is that not science fiction?
It's horror element to it.
Sci-fi
There's horror
horror,
is
yeah.
more.
Again-
Because it feeds on their fear. So it creates
Yes,
what
it
their fear
does.
is.
Yeah, it
So yeah.
does, yeah.
So that's why I put that on there. That's it. That's me for honorable mentions. Nice. Very good picks there, guys. We did it. We did it. 3 clashes, maybe 4.
Yeah, there was a few, but I think it was to be expected with this decade.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
90s
90s would be a hell lot different. But
It
yeah.
will be. It will be. Yeah. Well, Dave, welcome
Yes.
to the.
Are you back for
M.T.V.B.
next to the
YouTube
90s?
channel.
Nice.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, I'm back for the 90s. It's spooktacular season.
Yes.
I've got to come out of my hole.
Jesus Christ.
Oh dear.
Well, you heard it here
I
first.
don't know how to follow that, but
Crawl out of my pit and make a return.
but we'll sign off there on that note.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you like what you listen to, follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B. Podcast, on Instagram at M.T.V.B. Podcast, or on TikTok at M.T.V.B. Podcast 197. And of course, here on YouTube, give us a like, a share, a subscribe. It goes a long way for us. And yeah, hopefully see you for the 90s.
Yes.
Just to let you know, guys, this time it's war. Good night.